all rise for a moment of silence and the pledge.
So tonight, leading our pledge from South Cumberland Elementary School, it's Clara Savage and Orlando Pimentel.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Good job. Thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone. It looks like we have a full house, and we certainly appreciate that. Next on the agenda, Mr. Stepp, is the Kids First Award.
Okay, Miss Barnes. Good, come on up. We have Dr. Peebles come up, please.
How are you? Okay, surprise.
Yeah. I thought this had to do with the field trip to the aquarium.
Never, hey, we have to do what we have to do to get you places, okay? All right. As a longtime professional in Cumberland County, Dr. Howie Peebles retired from dentistry only to be a regular staple at Stone Elementary School. He volunteers in many ways to help enrich our students' education and shape a positive learning environment, as well as bringing joy to our staff by supporting and spoiling them with treats. Anytime you visit Stone Elementary, you may catch him reading with kindergarten students, as he does this on a regular basis. Dr. Peebles chaperones field trips, aquarium, and gives presentations to classes about dental health. As an avid beekeeper, Dr. Peebles also gives presentations about bees and their importance to our environment. Dr. Peebles also works at special concession events, donating treats for students. You will find him volunteering to assist in the cafeteria for holiday meals. He is referred to as the pie pusher by our cafeteria staff. The coffee cart is sponsored by Dr. Peebles as a special treat for teachers each year. He always donates gifts and treats to our Sunshine Committee to help bring joy during the 12 days of Christmas and Teacher Appreciation Week events. Dr. Peebles is always willing to help out whenever and wherever he is needed. The impact of his volunteerism resonates far and wide within our school. It is volunteers like him who exemplify the spirit of generosity and community engagement, serving as an inspiration to others. Stone Elementary is grateful for his support and would like to recognize his contribution to our school.
This is the Kids First Award awarded to Dr. Howie Peebles for exceptional selfless service to the kids at Cumberland County Schools. Thank you for your continued support and love for our kids.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
No time we ever spend with children or their teachers is wasted. I've been lucky in retirement to have sometimes drop in at Stone Elementary every now and then and help out. And I'm being educated still every day.
Thank you, Dr. Peebles. And before Dr. Peebles bothered to retire, he had all of our children and has done them well. Howie and I have known each other how many years?
Too long.
Yeah. Alice, how old are you?
Oh, are you going to say that for everybody?
Absolutely.
44.
That's how long.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Peoples. We appreciate it.
Thank you so very much.
You want to go into special recognition?
So tonight, special recognition, it's a music night. So the first are some honor band students who have earned seats in the regional honor band. There's 3 regions in the state of Tennessee. Thousands of students audition to make these bands. They're very special. They spend hours. I can't tell you how long it takes to get to that high level of musicianship to be able to earn seats in these honor bands. So tonight, we'd like to say congratulations to the following students. Sadie Selby on oboe, Candace Sapp on clarinet, come forward, Memphis Davis on clarinet, Lily Brackett on clarinet, and Alex Cruz on clarinet. Memphis? Lily? We got one other rider, Sapp. Is he here? Yes. Oh, come on up, Ryder.
You plays trumpet.
Come on up. Congratulations. Y'all sliding out?
Just slide. I used to just be in.
So the next people we'd like to recognize, Mr. Ethan Tipton, the band director at Stone Memorial High School, was able to get the United States Air Force Band from Washington, D.C., which is the best of the best in the Air Force, to come play in Crossville. Well, they came up to one tune, and we had a bunch of our students that got in and got to play with them. It was amazing. If you were there, I was there. It was absolutely amazing. So these students, the following students come on up: Claire Badowski, Sophia Beasley, Chloe Castile, Richie Elijah Hall, Haley Heap, Cheyenne Hickey, and Elijah Johnson.
We have another one.
One more, your way up.
So the certificate says, presented to these students in recognition of amazing performance with the United States Air Force Band. So great job.
And if you missed that concert, it was amazing.
That's quite a lot. That's a lot. Yes. That was a great concert. That's just wonderful. Okay, next on the agenda is roll call. Ms. Stoll. Here. Ms. Nichols. Here. Ms. Hale. Here. Mr. Safdie. Here. Mr. Davis.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Ms. Hamby. Here. Ms. Stout.
Here.
And I'm present. We're all present and accounted for. Mr. Pack.
Yes, ma'am.
Resolution.
Board members, Tennessee Code annotated Title 49, Chapter 2, Section 202 defines relative as a spouse, parent, parent-in-law, child, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, nephew, or niece, or any person that resides in the same household as you. Now, any of you that have such a relative as defined by statute, please raise your right hand and let the record reflect Ms. Boston and Mr. King. Do each of you certify that the votes that you make tonight will be in the best interest of the Cumberland County school system, regardless of the effect that your vote may have on the employment of your relatives? I do. Thank you. Let the record reflect the above.
I think his letter will show you something. Or we can see something. Okay. I think we've shifted now just a little bit. Everybody's gotten seats. Next on the agenda is the approval of the October 26th and November 30th minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, do we need to just skip before the agenda, before the roll call and the declaration, the speakers? Do we need to back
Speakers
up?
is Mr. Patton.
We haven't made it to the community comments yet,
Oh,
if
okay.
that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I was, it's
Right.
further down?
No, we have not, it's further down.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure I was reading that right.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the October 26th and November 30th meetings.
Move to approve both.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I would like, before we approve the agenda, I would like to move 18A off the consent agenda because it involves funds that we have to approve separately.
I'll make a second.
I would make a motion that we approve the agenda moving 18A off of the consent agenda.
And I'll second that.
And we have a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Acknowledgement of the elected officials. And since there are quite a few of you, if you would please, if you are a county commissioner, would you please stand? Welcome all of you. Thank you for coming, and we so appreciate you.
And thank you for the dinner.
You can thank Kate that handed. Did you get dessert? Okay. You're welcome, and it is our honor to feed you. We appreciate you and your support. Next is our community comments. If we could, clear the sheets. First in community comments, we've got Mr. Joe Sherrill. If you would state your name, your address, and Mr. Sherrill is a county commissioner.
Joe Sherrill. My address is 1141 Hebbertsburg and Crab Orchard. I just wanted to take a moment, since everybody's here, it's easy to give you a good comment. I thought I'd make two simple comments tonight. One was, as a commissioner, one thing I wanted to bring to you was my thanks, because I don't think, when I first started doing that 6 years ago or so, this was kind of a black hole that just wanted a bunch of money. Now, the integration that you've done with each of your board members, with Director Stepp, it's been a whole new awakening, and I really look forward to working with you to help you solve whatever you guys come up with as a need. So thank you for that. But I wanted to add a comment to that. The last time I came, there was a comment that the school system needed to run as a business. And coming from a business, which I am, I used to think that way too, but then I became a commissioner. And I learned one key thing. The business of government is very different than the business of business. And so you have to implement a social diversity at a level that is significant. And you guys do a very good job as a community coming up with ways to handle some very complex scenarios. So kudos, good job. I mean, as much as it might look like there's division, you got a whole lot of cohesiveness too, because you have a great school system coming out of a very rough time, and kids are actually progressively learning. So thank you again. And my last message is thank you, holiday seasons, greetings to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sherrill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, next on the community comments is Craig Clark. If you would state your, I think you know the routine.
My name's Craig Clark, and I live at 2266 Highway 68 in Crossville, District 3. The board must stop violations of their own policies, rules, and procedures. This activity undermines public trust, exposes the county to risk, and exposes the board members to personal liability. Your policy 1.300 states the board shall operate without standing committees. The rote response, we've been doing this for 16 years, is an admission that you've been violating the 2003 policy for a very long time. Truth is, Cumberland County hasn't always used committees and can conduct business better without them. Committee use is inefficient and results in an impossible number of meetings. The cumbersome schedule presents an obstacle to board members and the public that would like to participate. The existing committee assignments of no more than 3 members excludes most of the board members from staff reports and deliberation on important issues. A single board member represents 6,700 residents. Excluding 6 members excludes representation of over 40,000 residents. Those residents deserve and expect full representation. The board consumes 2/3 of the county budget and 90% of the county sales tax revenue. Policy mandates a deadline of May 1st for submission of the BOE budget to the county commission. This year, the budget committee did not schedule an initial meeting until 10 days after the deadline. The board did not complete the budget request until a month after the deadline. Should a 3-member budget committee that failed so miserably last year continue this responsibility? Likewise, the topic of the school buildings, grounds, and safety committee operates with only 1/3 of the board, including in deliberations. The vast majority of the county debt and debt service is for school buildings and projects. Further, safety resource officers and needed safety enhancements are funded directly from the county's remainder of the budget. The full board should certainly address this area. The committee system has demonstrated abject failure with respect to open and honest public involvement. So why is the board so tightly clinging to this violation of policy?
Fine.
The committee system...
Mr. Clark, and we have 7 speakers, so I'm going to have to limit our time tonight.
All right. I'd like to provide
Thank you.
comments.
Thank you for your comments.
Next on our community comments is Ms. Linda Clark.
I want to thank you for all you do. My name is Linda Clark, and I live at 2266 Highway 68. CSS policy states, as policy 1.405, states procedural challenges to the rules of order must be made in a timely manner and not later than the next successive meeting. When the chair presented her motion to dissolve the board-approved committees and simultaneously substitute her personal selections for committees as the only way to conduct business, she eliminated 2 board members from 3 committees. Those 2 board members happen to be among those that demonstrate concern for policy compliance. One of those members was absent from the November 30th special called meeting, when the board attorney advised you to suspend Roberts with expressed uncertainty. He failed to mention that there are circumstances in which you cannot do so. Rules protecting absentees cannot be suspended, even by unanimous consent or by an actual unanimous vote, because the absentees do not consent to such suspension. Your self-defined permissiveness to suspend rules with a simple majority rather than Robert's required 2/3 majority still does not negate the responsibility of the board to protect the rights of an absentee member. Specifically, the board violated rules protecting absentees. 1, the notice of the special call meeting did not provide specific agenda item. The online agenda simply said committees, and unlike the committee item on the October 26th agenda, provided no attachment to view the chair's intention of overturning the board's previous decision. The vote to suspend rules is a direct violation of absentee protection. Removing an absent board member from a committee should never have been discussed, much less voted upon, without that board member being present. Rules protecting a basic right of the individual member cannot be suspended. It's not the first time the board did not abide by protections for absent members. Due to a death in the family, Ms. Nichols missed the October 26th meeting in which committees were discussed and assigned. Law enforcement frequently references the Homestead campus as the most vulnerable campus for an active shooter occurrence. The entire community should be and is concerned. Ms. Nichols verbally requested serving on the Buildings and Grounds Committee, and should the board define the purposes and tasks for that special committee, she should be there. The board's blatant disregard for proper parliamentary procedure must be challenged and declared null and void. Whatever you do, you must have consistent compliance with your own rules and respect for all members. Thank you. I have copies for each of you, along with the Roberts reference so that you can see it.
Next on our community comments file sheet, Miss Elizabeth Bancroft. Please state your name, your address, and your
Sure.
subject.
My name's Elizabeth Bancroft, and I live at 16 West Ridge in Crossville, District 9. And this is the first time I've ever done this, so this is an experience for me, coming to a board meeting of the Board of Education. I'm an eighth-generation Tennessean, so I do have an interest in what goes on in the county that I live in, and also have a degree in education. My topic tonight is one that's concerned me. I've attended 4 meetings, and I looked at the November 30th video online, and as a result, that's what prompted me to come here tonight. So my topic is meeting environment and decorum. Many thanks to each of you for your time, talents, and resources in providing oversight for and guidance to the Cumberland County Public School System. In an effort to learn and become more engaged in this community, I have attended 4 Board of Education meetings, and I also watched the recent November 30th meeting video on YouTube. Based on my observations of these meetings, I would like to share some thoughts and concerns. It is quite apparent to me and to others in the audience that there exists a tangible tension sometimes in the board meetings. It seems to be a result of maybe partisan and contentious interactions between members, which others and I have witnessed. You can look at the videos and you might see that yourselves. We in the audience can feel it, and we can certainly see and hear it. The audience has witnessed distracting and sophomoric behaviors exhibited by some board members, such as eye-rolling, glaring, deliberate heads-down inattentiveness, scolding, and even agitated vocal remarks, and even some audible groans when fellow board members are speaking. Board members have been observed viewing or texting on cell phones, whispering between members while other colleagues have the floor, and even getting up and leaving, all during active and official meeting proceedings. Flagrant displays of disrespect are concerning to observe, and they are a hindrance to a healthy collegial interaction between board members. Most of us understand that official board meetings held in public require an elevated level of professional decorum. Professional decorum also requires a visible show of respect by and to all board members, including citizens in attendance, without verbal condescension, patronizing admonishments, or unchecked agitation. These behaviors are unprofessional, unproductive, and are textbook examples of a dysfunctional and toxic work environment, resulting in tense and uncomfortable to watch board meetings sometimes. It's true. Meetings which continue to go off the rails in front of a public audience. The students of Cumberland County deserve better. Teachers and employees deserve better, and certainly the tax-paying parents and citizens deserve better.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Sharon Moore. If you would then, again, State your name and your address.
Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm Sharon Moore. I live at 22 Victoria Way in Crossville, and I'm in District 9. Okay? First of all, I appreciate your willingness to give, I have to read this, and I have to get my glasses on. I appreciate your willingness to give of your time and expertise to serve on the board. Providing a good education for students is critical to the student success and the economic success of our county. As a concerned citizen of Cumberland County for the last 14 years, I have heard from many citizens that the school board has not been operating effectively as a cohesive board. I decided to attend the meetings to observe for myself. What I observed validated the concerns I had heard. At a recent board meeting, best practices for operating an effective school board were presented. The Putnam County School Board chairperson described their very efficient and effective operations, and we also heard about very similar approaches from other school boards. These school boards do two things very differently that could drastically improve the operations and effectiveness of our school board. Number one, the executive committee is the only committee. All board members participate in work sessions so that all members have input to critical decisions. There are 4 to 12 work sessions per year, depending on how often work sessions are held. In contrast, Cumberland County has an executive committee and also standing committees with only 3 board members assigned to each committee. There were approximately 41 committee meetings held in 2023. Board members would have to attend all 41 committee meetings in order to participate in the discussions and help formulate recommendations to the full board. Changing to the work session format will ensure all districts are represented at every meeting, as well as cut the number of meetings in half per year. The current committee format is clearly not an effective way to organize the board. No wonder it is hard to convince potential new candidates to run for school board or attract and retain key personnel. Number 2 of best practices. The director of schools is trusted by the board and therefore able to successfully perform their duties without being encumbered by micromanagement. Our director of schools has a track record of improving the education of students while being fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars spent. Let him do his job, trust and verify. In conclusion, resistance to change was extremely evident by some board members at the meeting where best practices were presented. Why is there such a resistance to an operating model that has proven to be more effective and efficient? Approximately 2/3 of the total county budget is allocated to the schools. As a concerned citizen and taxpayer, it is quite obvious that the board could...
Ms. Moore, it's time. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But we've got...
I had 1/2 of a sentence.
I'm so sorry. Miss Karen Franson?
Franson.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't...
That's okay.
I didn't want to mess it up.
You did fine. I think I have the drill. Karen Franson, 895 Parnell Road, Crossville. Retired 5th grade teacher, published middle grade author, Bachelor of Science, Elementary Education, and History. December 7th, Pearl Harbor Day, a date which, what? Will live in infamy. November 30th, the date the majority here suspended your own rules. You jettisoned established rules of order when an outcome wasn't what you wanted. The actions of the majority, November 30th, breached community trust, a deplorable example to our children. Expectations and standards influence performance. It's true. And it's a core belief of this board highlighted on your website. Following policy is both prudent and an objective standard. Yet after only one meeting under the new structure, one committee conducted no business. Business as usual. The transcript from that November 8th meeting was alarming,
highlighting a power struggle over following policy. Your vote November 30th matters. With it, you return to business as usual. Business as usual has no place on this board. Business as usual hasn't helped our students excel. We're ranked 50th in our state. Tennessee is in the bottom third of the nation. What about this brings to mind excellence? Actually, it stinks. A brief aside, we understand our director of schools is once again turning things around for the betterment of students under his charge. Thank you for hiring him. For lack of guidance, a nation falls, but victory is won through many advisors. Committees aren't rubber stamps. They're where the hard work is done. Members must work, not abandon ship, not adjourn abruptly. Listening for the purpose of understanding in humility is a lost but fundamental skill, not just with this board, but in life, and that takes work. And if the work isn't to be in vain, policy must be followed. Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of such things, God's wrath comes on those who are disobedient. Therefore, do not be partners with them. Thank you for thinking on these fundamentals going forward. Right this wrong. Vote to return to the October committee structure and work with those of differing points of view for the betterment of our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jason Futral. If you would state your name and your address.
My name is Jason Futral. I live at 1775 York Road. That's in the 3rd District. What I'm here about is middle school basketball. It's been a year since we've been started on this, talking about it, and so far I feel like we voted in rules and basically went by part of the rules. You know, middle school rules state that 6th graders can play once their season's over. Well, that didn't get done. Through the grapevine you hear that there was some sort of lawsuit filed. Bam, it's done. It was done that quick. Well, we put an efficient team. We've got every sport but basketball. So when you talk about other stuff in life, basketball players are being held. Basically, what it feels like is you're being prejudiced against them. They say that because of numbers. Brown has 5 girls. Martin has, now that 6th graders come up, we got 8. The boys have 10. The other numbers, they don't even fill their charts. Pineview didn't even have a team. The ball players are playing ball. They're beating everybody, trying to be kind. I mean, my wife does coach over there. We play the least that we can to try to keep them beating teams any worse because those kids should be playing middle school basketball. We pay what? I think $300 per district. There's 9 districts. Why do we want to go with the rules and not play the ball? Everybody else does it. Why don't we do it? Like I said, we've had a year. I've contacted Bledsoe, White County, Prescott, all good. All these schools around here that I can even name off that are middle school teams. Nobody from this county has made contact with them to find out what rules. Last year was like, we don't know the rules. Well, nobody's called in a year. A year. I mean, what are we doing? Us parents are trying to do stuff. Yeah, ball games going on now. I'm missing my kids playing to be here. But I want something done. I mean, like they said, the agenda's coming up here for the whatever. We need to be putting in payroll. Let's get a coach. I mean, we need people to volunteer to coach for a couple of years, I guarantee, for free to help get it started. So whatever we're doing is not based on money-wise. I guarantee, I know people said that they would pay for the uniform. So it ain't the uniforms that's keeping us. The high school coaches are begging for it. I mean, I'm at the point I want somebody to explain to me what have we done? What have we done? Nothing. Basically give us the rules. We didn't abide by them 100%. Until right here last month it was voted on different. I mean, what are we doing? I mean, I know you've got a lot of stuff on your mind, and I'm glad you're doing it, but this is one concern that I don't think ought to be skipped over because all these basketball players, they're good. They're good, and they have a right to go represent how good they are. But you can't take no school out of here, not even Homestead, as good as they are, and goes there and plays these middle schools because they're lacking just a little. But if we had a true middle school teams at these high schools, they could. It would make our high school teams even better. They'll go compete state. Now they're kind of struggling what they want to do because, and when you talk to these other people, there's so many people that says they're not even going to play basketball next year, period. I think there's going to be a lot of schools struggling to have teams because why don't we let them play this team? They beat us by 40 and had their sixth graders in. We can't compete against them. They want to play, but you got a group of kids that's dying for an opportunity to do something. And basically, I mean, everybody go home and look in the mirror. You're holding them back. Whatever it is we need to do, somebody needs to make something happen. If you need help from me, like I said, I've done called all these schools. Hey, I'll help you in any way I can. Phone calls are easily done. I mean, let's get something going. I mean, I'm not going to come to these meetings. I'll be here at every one. If I have to take off work to do it, if it's in the middle, it don't matter. I'm going to be here.
Mr. Futral,
Thank you.
I'm sorry it's
You're
taken.
fine.
Thank you.
Anyway.
Thank you.
Is Nancy Woodcock?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you for this time allotted for all of us to speak.
If you could please.
My
state
name
your-
is Nancy Woodcock. I'm a concerned tax-paying citizen residing at 33 Andrew Lane here in Crossville. I also like to give thanks, are also due to Director Stepp for being a servant to the students by riding buses, asking teachers about their needs, and visiting the campuses. There has been progress in dual enrollment programs, and the newspaper mentioned that there has been an improvement in academic performance in the district, and I'm very thankful to hear that. I've been a nurse at a school. I have subbed at schools, and I see and look at and hear the different types of meetings that are done at the school boards, and I've been attending for the last 3 meetings here. Thank you for opening this up. My biggest concern is that the subcommittee is not hearing the voices of the other elected board members and the citizens who gave them power. I fear that we, the people who voted for the board, are being quieted by a subcommittee that is gripping power and control using the 5 staff members that see eye to eye with the woman from the 7th district, not the 7th district, excuse me, yes, with the woman from the 7th district who presumes a leadership position along with the chairwoman from the 8th district. I see the control manipulation when the subcommittee does not allow policy rules to be implemented. In doing so, it seems subversive to go to meetings with just those who agree with the chairperson. This happens when the other board members on the committee are not invited to be present for a fair discussion and vote, unless it's at the last moment and they are not prepared. The unreasonable 52 meetings per year are overkill, and these seem to have been implemented to discourage other board members from attending all the meetings so the small group can make decisions without the rest. And this is not to belabor because it's been repeated. So this is very important that we all have felt this. This type of procedure, which I call an underground basement passing of rules, happens by not announcing meetings to the staff, which is not justified or fair. I urge this small subcommittee to consider those citizens who have put them into office. The citizens and their elected representatives deserve to be heard. Another deep concern is that the fact that qualified human resources person and finance person have not been hired because the subcommittee has not made a way for these positions to be filled. That's preposterous. We need someone who can bring clarity to all affairs to help by establishing a proper legally qualified staff.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Okay. Mr. Chris Goddard. Goddard. I'm so sorry. Goddard. If you would state your name, your address.
My name is Chris Goddard, 103 Phyllis Street, Crossville, Tennessee. Good evening, board members. I come tonight to ask the board to stand firm and rally against the proposed school voucher program being floated in Nashville. This proposal will have an immediate effect on our community. The schools receive a certain amount of money per year for our children. But if this passes, the schools are going to be missing that amount. Will that budget deficit cause our taxes to raise? The private schools in this community and everywhere else do not have to provide special education services. So what will happen to those services when the county is short on funds? And if the other proposal being floated in Nashville for stopping receiving federal funds passes? And this is my daughter, by the way, sorry. When this happens, our children will suffer. I ask this board to stand united against the vouchers. Call our state representative and our senator. Our children's education is far more important than supporting a party or a cause. Remind our elected officials in Nashville of how much funding we receive per child. Remind Nashville that if there is such a budget surplus from which they claim to do the needs they're wanting to do this, then make the money come down to our schools for our children and their education. If other school systems like Wilson County, and Putnam County, Sumner County, and numerous others across the state can unite and push back saying, no, we want our funds for our children, and no to this voucher program, Cumberland County can unite and do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goddard. Is Rachel Goddard?
Come on, let me go first. Okay, stand up.
It's not church.
Hi, I'm Rachel Goddard. I'm in the 2nd district, I believe, Safety. And my address is 103 Phyllis Street. So this is our daughter, Ava. There's no introduction needed. So we are here today because of Ava. So as you guys have seen and you've heard about, there's been a push to reject federal funding for education. With rejecting federal funding for education is going to put special education services that this child receives in jeopardy. We have an amazing special education department. I was actually sitting with the director. That tells you how awesome our department is here. And if this federal funding goes through, she's not gonna have a chance. Okay, she has made, and I don't wanna get emotional, she has made such amazing strides since she started school here in 2016, so much so that her school psychologist, yeah, she's 10, said that she's never seen a kid make the progress that she has. This is not just due to her parents, this is due to her community at school. This is due to the special education services she receives. Hold on, I'll let you tell them about your teachers. And also her therapies, her special education director, every single person has a say in this child's education. So I'm urging you all to take a stand against rejecting federal funding because she will not have a chance without it. Do you want to say something? Do we have a minute?
Odie, Goddard, and...
Who's your favorite teacher?
Gabby. Gabby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Miss Ava.
Thank you. That's my why.
If you could just bring Ava back every meeting, that would be lovely.
Precious.
We are now down to our TLN report. Ms. Stout.
Thank you. A few things I wanted to make you all aware of this evening at the meeting. We had our delegate assembly during our annual conference, school board conference in November. And during that assembly, there were 8 resolutions that moved forward that are going to be on the TSBA 2024 legislative agenda. Qualifications for the director of schools, lifting the moratorium on special school districts, letter grading system of public schools, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about in a minute, partisan elections of school board members, funding for special education preschool students, temporary permits for teachers, options for 3rd and 4th grade retention, and ability to conduct lotteries for educational purposes. So those are the 8 moving forward that they're going to be working on during this legislative session. Now, regarding the letter grading system of public schools, I made mention of this last month in my report. They were still working on it and hadn't released their formulas on how they were going to be looking at grading. But they have done that, and the letter grades are going to be calculated by achievement, and they've got percentages regarding weights for elementary, middle, and high school. Growth, so overall growth, and growth of the bottom 25% of students in a school, and then college and career readiness at the high school level. So those are the 4 areas that they're going to be categorizing or coming up with the grades for the schools going forward. Mr. Stepp, I believe that we've received some information as a district. Y'all have been, if you want to say something to that.
Well, we've received some data, but the letter grades have not been released yet. But we've met with each principal, and it's called a heat map that shows our annual measurable objectives and how they perform. Each school performed on those. There's 6 for the high schools and 4 for the K-8 schools. So we've been working on that, and principals been working really hard on improvement plans and continuous improvement plans. So we're hitting on every cylinder right now. So.
And they were still saying that we should be getting the grades sometime in December, but they haven't said when in December, so.
Yeah, the release of information is a moving target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the TSBA legislative agenda item that they're going to be addressing with this A through F grading scale is that the single letter grade cannot adequately capture any school's overall performance. Consequently, TSBA is going to advocate for legislation requiring the department to also publish letter grades for each of the achievement, growth of the bottom 25%, and college and career readiness indicators. So they would like not just one overall grade, but they want the grades posted in each one of those areas to give a bigger picture on that. So hopefully we'll have more information on where we fall grading-wise in December, and then we'll see what happens with this legislative session on additional grade posting for those categories. And then the last piece I wanted to mention to everybody is last week, Governor Lee unveiled the Education Freedom Scholarship Act. If y'all would like more information on that act, you can go out to TennesseeEducationFreedom.com, and it's got FAQs and all kinds of information on it. But basically, it's school choice and for everybody across the state, and choice in where taxpayers' dollars are spent, so the dollars follow the students to their school of choice. What they've laid out is in the 24-25 school year, they're going to provide 20,000 in scholarships, 20,000 scholarships, and it's 10,000 apiece that's going to be available. They're breaking it into 2 categories. 10,000 of those scholarships are going to be for students at or below the 300% federal poverty level. They've got a disability, or if they're eligible for existing ESA pilot program, which they've been running. The other 10,000 scholarships are going to go into a universal pool of students that are entitled to attend public school. So that's for the 24-25 school year. And then the 25-26 school year and beyond, they're looking at all Tennessee students entitled to attend public schools, and they're going to place a priority on current enrolled students in low income if the demand exceeds the available funding. So I'd encourage everybody to go out and take a look at the website and the details.
Thank you.
And that's summarizes my report. You're welcome.
Board members, report from any training that you may have received. And I think we all went to conference, so we could all report on that. However, do you have any board members have anything individual to say?
I would just like to thank Mr. Stepp and his staff and the principals and the students that took part in the school tours that they made available for us and the commissioners over the course of the last month and a half. We were doing those of all the elementary schools, so it was very informative. it's great to meet with everybody and interact with the students, and so I appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Yes, thank you.
We have some amazing teachers.
We do.
I'm thinking of that
Amazing
band
folks.
teacher at South. He is just a riot working with those kids. Unbelievable. Saw those kids with got to program the computers, and I don't understand all that language, but the computers or the things were going forward, backwards, upwards, and the jaws were opening up and closing, and it was just chaos, but it was organized, and they had a blast.
A lot of practical application.
A lot of application
throughout all the
Yes,
subjects.
everywhere. Yeah, all
Yeah,
the
it was
schools.
great.
It's amazing what we're doing. Some awesome teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Patton, legal report?
Yes, ma'am. We have received some correspondence concerning the Jewel case, and my understanding is that settlement agreement has been approved by the court, and we should be receiving an email next week, probably through Mr. Stepp, that will give some instructions on how to sign off on the accounting and hopefully be receiving those funds in the near future. The social media suit, the fee agreement has been signed and been sent in. I haven't received any reports on that, but hopefully we'll have some more on that social media suit coming in the near future. Other than that, there's no update in pending litigation, and there certainly is no new litigation.
That's what we like to hear.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on the Jewel case, will we receive all those funds at once, or are they a payout?
My understanding is that this is a first phase and that there may be more to come after this.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Thank you. Mr. Stepp, the director's report.
Absolutely. So starting out, by law, the board has to approve the collaborative conferencing committees. This has been done ever since the law changed. This year, representing the teachers, Ms. Julia Timpson, CCEA, they have their team. And then the Board of Education, we have an admin team for that, that we've created. But by law, you have to approve these two committees, and then we'll get started in the spring for our next MOU. This one was 3 years, and it ends in 2024. So we're excited to get back to the table and do great things for teachers.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
move to approve 15A.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and a second to approve the proposed collaborative conferencing administrative committee and teacher committee. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the collaborative conferencing that was discussed in the special call meeting, was there items that had to be dealt with between then and now? Is that why those items were on that agenda?
Yes. We have a January 1st deadline, and you're fixing to go into the holidays where the teachers won't be there.
Right.
So, yes.
So between last week and today, what happened specifically?
Well, we wanted
pertaining?
to get started on it because we were going into the holidays. And my thoughts were the survey had not been done.
Sir.
And the survey had to be done first. When I called to set the special called meeting, so we could, because you have to do the survey, send that out, give a specific time frame in which the teachers to respond. Then you set these two committees, because those ballots have to be opened.
So-
That had already been done. And actually, the board had to approve that as well. So Mr. Stepp and I went ahead and board executive committee approved it. So we went ahead and voted on it and put that on the agenda first. Had we had to do all of it, then we were on a time frame. Now we've got our committees and we're well within our January 1st deadline.
So that extra week helped.
Yes. Yes, it did. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. You've got your committees, and Ms. Timpson, you've got yours. Mr. Fair.
Next. So the strategic plan, all we need is for the board, now that you've been able to review it for a month, is to approve that. And then we will begin the detailed version of planning it out, and we'll do some more work on it on our annual retreat that we're doing in January. So we just need you to approve this outline, and then we'll begin with the accountability measures, the planning out with action steps, and all that part of it.
Mr. Step, I move to approve the
Second.
5-year strategy plan.
You have to change the spelling of my name.
We will. I got it.
So we have a
I'll do it
motion.
if you change my name.
We'll correct it.
Oh, they did spell your name.
They did.
I didn't notice that. We have a,
So I'll second that.
we have a first and second.
Oh. Missed the second.
We have a first and second to approve the 5-year strategic plan. Is discussion?
I think there was a lot of hard work put in, and it's a good plan.
I think it's an excellent plan.
Yeah, it is.
It's very well laid out. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we can move forward to the next step.
Okay, so next is, I'd like to talk about both of these positions together. We have the human resources position and the financial controller, used to be the CFO position. What I'd like to discuss is actually that second attachment. If you can scroll down a little bit. Leapfrog, when they did the study, they made a suggestion of that starred column be the uncertified supervisor pay scale. Can you scroll down where they can see where it's starred?
Yeah, I started to say we can't.
Scroll the other way so they can see where it's starred.
There you go. It's actually non-certified supervisor B.
Correct.
Supervisor B.
So we've talked in the private sector and in local government, those salaries are much higher than what we have currently offered. So with people with experience, I'd like to be able to follow this scale so we can be competitive and get the best people we have out there.
Mm-hmm. So is you're offering that both for, your proposal is the HR and CFO?
Yes, I propose that both of those positions either follow that scale or we modify it just so we can be more competitive and get the best of the best to come work with us.
Yeah.
Okay, now if we approve, and it's not on the agenda to vote on tonight, but if we vote to approve that, we've already authorized you to spend $75,000 on HR.
Finance, that was the finance.
That was the
position.
finance. Does that back off and we start with the scale?
Well, you gave that as my ceiling.
Okay.
You originally gave me 75 as the ceiling. So if we follow this scale, we do have a policy where we're accepting their work experience. So if they're a finance person in the private sector, we'll count that experience towards the salary here. That was a policy change made last year, so.
And it is not on the agenda to vote on.
I think you can still make a motion if you would like to.
So are we attracting, we're not attracting anybody with 75, is that?
Currently not, with that being the high end. I guess the best comparison is the county finance director that we're in the middle of interviewing for right now. That pay is at 97. So, and we manage 2/3 of the county budget.
I was looking at this sheet.
Yeah, so the HR, that was from Leapfrog. If you go to the attachment before on HR, that was just what Leapfrog gave us as a market analysis. And this was 2 years ago. So on that market analysis, that's the state. So that's where a lot in industry are. So education, industry, and then if you'll scroll on down to where we can see the bottom, that's where we're at, right around 57-ish, up to 66.
And what are we, may I ask another question?
Absolutely.
So.
That's just a research piece of paper that Leapfrog gave us on study of HR positions.
And on the other sheet, I wasn't able to see the salary that we're currently going to offer a human resource supervisor when we hire one.
Currently, is Miss Bray?
Yeah, Miss Bray explained it to me perfectly.
She's coming. She's hiding in the hall.
So, Ms. Bray, can you elaborate a little bit on what you and I know Ms. Boston had already talked about, what we're offering and then what we're suggesting here?
We have a published salary scale now. I don't know whether that was included in that attachment for that position. It starts much lower. And basically now, not that one, but what we were proposing is to go to column B for those two positions. That is significantly higher than what we're starting now.
Right now, we're starting, I brought the
Got it.
sheet with me, and it's starting at 50.
Right, and I think this is
That starts at 65.
correct.
And then,
We would give credit for any experience that they have that they can verify from private sector or public sector, whatever. in the
So
field.
just to put this at scale, we're the largest employer, so we're at 1,100 plus employees and 64 million plus federal programs money. So it's, the both of them are large jobs to handle when you look at it.
I talked to a human resource officer yesterday, and this person was making $93,000 a year. And I asked her, would you come to Cumberland County and work for $87,000? And she said no. And I asked her again, would you work for $80,000? And she said no. And I'm greatly confused, because if we know that the current job market is offering experienced human service officers, resource officers, at a job between $78,000 and $92,000, what are we offering for a startup salary?
You have that in front of you, Ms. Poft?
50,000.
50,000.
I simply cannot accept that.
If we hire someone and we give them credit for the 10 years experience, that's just at 60.
Correct.
Yeah.
So this scale would allow us to start out, somebody fresh off the street at 65.
Yes, ma'am, and like I said, I don't anticipate, as you and I discussed, that we would hire someone with zero experience. This is a big job. You need to have a little experience under your belt before you start.
Well, but that is where we would start, but then you add the years of experience.
So when are they going to reach $80,000 or $85,000?
They will reach.
10-year experience.
Yeah, 10 years.
With 10 years' experience?
So if they come to us with 10 years experience, they would start at 80.
Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
So would we, I guess, without having to redo or modify or change the entire, or adopt this new this new schedule, would we be able to give Mr. Stepp the latitude to hire up to a number? In lieu of us, like if we had a candidate tomorrow walk in, be like, hey, I've got experience, and give him a number up to X amount of dollars to hire. That way we're not having to hurry and jump through hoops to adopt something.
Right, we've given him the authority to go up to 75 on,
Finance
you said
position.
CFO.
Yes.
But we've never really given him anything on human resource.
Right.
I, quite frankly, would like to see him have that authority.
Well, this comes
then
from
that-
research. This is nothing we just made up. That's,
Right.
we paid that company.
We paid for this research, yes.
But if we were to be able to give him this authority, we're getting ready to go into budget where salaries are going to be a focus this year. And then we could make educated, well-studied, well-researched decisions.
Right, yep.
I mean, I don't know that anybody would come and work for us for 50,000 and do what they do.
No, they're gonna say the same thing they said to Mr. Safdie. No.
I don't think they would.
It's too much, 1,100 people.
How, can I ask a question,
Sure,
Nick?
absolutely.
How would you see that working with that range that you're talking about?
Well, if he has the, I suppose he already has the budget currently for the salaried positions. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have it budgeted, but we haven't spent it for either position. So we got a half a year of salary built up already. So if we switch to this, we could afford this throughout this fiscal year, because it'd be half, if we're lucky enough to get somebody in January. It'd be half of whatever we're looking at there.
And then you'd be prepared for the next year.
And when we
during
start budget, like we
Reallocate it
talked,
correctly,
So if a person came in at 10 years' experience,
they'd start on this chart. 10
right,
years.
See, if you came in with 10 years of experience on our current chart, you're gonna make 60,949.
It'd be
Tabitha, if you
80,000
would-
here.
Yeah, it would be, after 10 years, how many?
80.
85. Well, those numbers are small.
And when you get up to 15 years, it's 90,000.
Right.
That's a healthy salary.
I think
So
it's fair.
we could, even though it doesn't say we need, and we can make a motion on
Make
this
a
one,
motion,
we can make a
absolutely.
motion to adopt this, or do we want to make a motion to give him some leeway until we get to look at this further? That way we're not locked into this if something happens. So could we say, if you get someone in here tomorrow that's got 10 years' experience, you have a cap of 85,000?
What if I get someone with 15 though?
Yeah, see, that's, I was gonna say, based upon,
So could we just adopt the chart? Can we do that?
well, if
would
we
you
adopt the
prefer?
entire chart,
I would prefer to adopt this because it's research-based
Yeah.
information. It's not something I made up or you made up.
Right.
I would recommend
That's good.
that.
and it's for 2 positions.
Correct.
So on the director's recommendation, I make a motion that we adopt the non-certified supervisor B schedule from the Leapfrog survey that we did.
Before we start doing all that, I just want us to consider that, we're hiring other positions in the central office, and we still don't talk about the teachers, and they're down there in the classrooms with the children every day, doing their jobs with pay that's not even half as much as what we're offering these people. And we've had this for years.
The teachers are a high focus of ours right now. We're working with their salaries, and that was a big part of our budget discussion last year, and it's gonna be certainly a big part of the budget discussion this year. Those teachers and the staff need the human resource officer and also the chief financial officer. That directly impacts them and their jobs. So we wanna make sure we do get the right people in place across the board in the district. And we gotta make sure we're hiring good talent, attracting and keeping good talent across the
But if we
district.
don't have the money because we're outpricing
Point of order.
ourselves.
Can we get a
We've got a
second?
motion on the floor.
Yeah, I
Need a
made a
second?
motion.
I need a second.
I second.
Okay, thank you. Now,
Now we can discuss.
can we have discussion?
Thank you, I was listening to the conversation.
Well, they got into discussion before.
Yeah, before the second was there, sorry.
That's okay. The floor is open for discussion at this time.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I
That's
was
all
just
right.
saying
That's
that,
all right.
we talk about these positions in central office, and we keep adding to central office, and I know they're needed positions, but we have schools that need librarians. We have schools that need, Mr. Stepp tells us all the time about the need for just the classroom teachers that aren't there, and we're not even funding these teachers, but we're worried about the central office people with higher salaries. I don't know the answer.
Well,
I'm just
HR
pointing it out.
I'm not saying that CFO is not an important job, but HR, when you're dealing with 1,000 employees, trying to keep everybody straight is an incredible job.
You're here.
And they're very high upon the organizational chart. So if you look at that, and we've been without a, she was a CFO, right? Since last October.
I'm doing my best.
No, I'm not saying you're not. You have another position.
Correct.
But we've been without a CFO since October the 3rd of last year.
Correct.
And
We will be doing teacher raises again this year and next year and the following year. It's required not only by law, but like you said, when we walk the buildings, gotta love on them. They do a great job. I mean, there's a lot of work
Yeah,
going
they
into the
do.
children, and I'm 100% pro-teacher, 100%.
We want to, across the district, attract and keep top talent. It's part of the strategic plan. We got to figure out how to fund it all.
running
That's a
bake sale
classic
next
question.
Saturday.
Finding good help is so hard.
Yeah, and then finding the people, because a lot of these positions have been funded, but we can't find the people, right?
Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the non-certified supervisors B schedule for CFO and HR. that essentially removes the cap of 75,000
Correct.
and puts you with a defined scale. If you come up with somebody that's got 3 years, but you really, really like them, then they're gonna start out at 67. What happens if they don't accept that?
We're gonna look, we've been looking the whole time, calling counties, I call counties all the time, directors trying to find, do you know, and it's the same with those 13 bus driver positions, and we got several positions open that I report to you guys each week, so that's a moving target. Hopefully we can hire and hire again. So that's it. We're doing it with every one of the open positions. We're actively trying to find people and recruit them.
Does our budget, can it hold this?
Well, you're looking at we've not had a CFO in a year, and that money's all been budgeted.
Okay.
So, it's kind of like we had this
Well, it's-
money, we're waiting for them to get here so we can give it to them.
It's sustainable, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Oh, it's not, well, it all depends on how much experience they've got, but it's not, you're not looking at 150,000 additional reoccurring funds. You're looking at a much less amount because the money's already budgeted. It just appears so if you're discussing it.
Call the vote?
Further discussion? Okay, Ms. Stahl?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
No.
Mr. Safdie?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Hamby?
Yes.
Ms. Stout?
Yes.
And Ms. Boston votes yes. So we have adopted that pay scale.
All right, next is the annual school nutrition plan report. You get that each year. And next, we have the Homestead Elementary safety concerns. This was something that was discussed with the board in the spring. I was asked by the board to talk to Mr. Chamberlain, try to find some solutions. We do have a drawing that Mr. Chamberlain gave us this spring. Was it April or May? When did he?
April.
Was it April?
We've had that
So,
for a while.
so this is a discussion that Ms. Nichols had requested.
Yes, I did. So, we were blessed to have Mr. Stepp work with the principals, and we did the walkthrough with the schools, and it was awesome. Homestead being on District 3, but Homestead is a great concern. I put a few pictures out here, and y'all can look at them as I pass them around. One of them I took was from the volunteer fire department is like right on 127 right now because they're redoing that road. And when you stop in their parking lot, you can see into the classroom of this last cottage. But the thing that bothered me when we did our walkthrough is there's no bathroom in these cottages because they're so old, and there's no running water. So the kids have to leave that classroom without an adult. They go 2 by 2 though. They do make sure of that to go find a bathroom. Well, that is alarming. Then also with the SPED students in their wheelchairs, they also have to go out in the wind and the rain and the snow as well. One of the things that concerned me about the windows is that they're so visible, and I know North has some. Do you remember the name of the company, Miss Hamby, that we saw? I could not think of their name.
In Nashville?
Yes.
I have their card.
I can't find his card.
I have the card and I have their information, but it is at home. Absolutely amazing presentation.
Yes.
So, yes.
Absolutely amazing.
For
So
windows?
it's
Yeah.
a window security
It's
screen.
for a safety
Okay,
screen.
that's the alternative to the
Yeah, like
other screen that we
you
have.
have to shoot through it like 12 times to be able to get through it, and I mean it was really amazing. And I'm thinking,
It's a little bit different from window film, and it was actually better, and they come and help you write the.
we need to have them come and do
for
a
the grants.
presentation.
Yes,
for
we
the
do.
It was less expensive, was it not?
Yes, very much less expensive than what the film was.
Not cheap, and it's like, I know that doing anything we do costs so much money, it's unbelievable. I know that what we really need to do with Homestead is make it a one key. It is not a one key. It alarms me that even, you'll see in one of those pictures, that the kitchen people, of course that cafeteria is so small, I don't know how they do what they do. They need an award for that. But the kitchen is so small, they have the freezer and the dry storage is outside on a dock. So, and Pleasant Hill, I believe, is the same. But Homestead has to go outside in the wind and the rain and the snow, get their things, and then they have to wait till somebody buzzes them back in because you can't leave a door open. I mean, that alone is very alarming. But the kids being out in the hallways. So there is some of this safety screen that we could do in the meantime. If we could get him to come and do, I mean, it's amazing. They did a hallway with this that you thought looked like a glass hallway. It was absolutely fabulous. And it left security. They can put the monograms from the schools on the outside, so when you're looking in the hallway, all you see is the monogram. On the inside, you see clear going out.
Right.
It was fabulous, and it left safety.
And there's grants that we can go ahead and apply for the film and the screens.
And they help write
And they
the
help.
grant.
And they help
write
right for
with
that. You hire them, and they do all of that. We don't have to go looking for the money. We don't have to do anything.
Where are you proposing putting this, in the very front of Homestead?
They actually will come out and
do an assessment.
Do an assessment, and they will then give you a proposal on what it would look like and everything.
Do we remember who?
I have their
She
information.
and I both
at
have the
home.
card. I couldn't find mine.
I have all their information at
Could you
home.
give that to Mr.
Something,
Stepp?
if we can
can
do
do that.
this as a safety step would be awesome. I mean, I drive by there every day, twice a day. I don't like the fact that they're so exposed. But I also don't like the fact that they don't have a bathroom in there and they're having to go find that bathroom in the hall, in the winter and the weather and all the rest of it. So
The
having
other-
that one key in
the other
that school,
cons-
these plans have been sitting down here since April. We've done nothing. So I would like to make, I don't know if I make a motion or whatever, but for Mr. Stepp to investigate further. I mean, how, Mr. Chairman, how do we find the money to do something with Homestead? These kids walking out there.
The other concern about the no water running in the not just that they don't have a bathroom in those buildings, but then they don't have this sprinkler system extended
have
out there
nothing.
for
There is
fire
no
either
water.
in those buildings. So that was a concern too.
No, there's no running water.
They have no sprinkler.
They have no sprinkler.
No.
And Miss York and I were both talking as we were walking through the school because she went to school there. And she was talking about them going to the tower for classes and walking back and forth. And then she turned and looked at me and she said, but today, we live in a different world. So what she used to do as a child and being able to walk out there and feel free and safe was okay. But today, and they're right there on that highway. Right on that highway. Like I said, when I drive by, I can see the kiddos in the window.
Awesome.
I do have a question. Why are the sped classes in one of the cottages instead of in the main building, to where they have access to
We have
bathroom?
them, we have them all over the
They're all
buildings
over.
there. That
They're
one
all
right
over.
there, I believe, Ms. Holton, is that the P3 class?
It's not, it's an inclusion classroom, but
Inclusion.
it's a preschool classroom of P3s, and there is a restroom in there.
So they're good there. But
Okay,
to go to the
okay.
cafeteria and stuff,
Yeah.
they have to go around the building and go into the
All
main
that-
building?
All the special ed classrooms are inside the one key.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Would this be an item we could forward to Mr. Chamberlain during this needs-based assessment for consideration on
Well, he's
how
already
to?
He's done that. The plans are here.
He's done a drawing.
But I'm just to make, earmark that, say, be mindful of this as a
Maintenance of the buildings and all that, yeah.
focal point of,
So I think we need to look at a couple of things. A short-term plan, right?
Yes. Short-term would be.
Secure the campus more, and then a long-term plan for what we're gonna do
Yes.
out there, like Mr. Chamberlain's drawing. But what can we do as a temporary to make that campus safer?
Has there been any incidents that have been reported that
It's
we
like she
are?
said, her teachers are so on top of everything. I mean, watching people, but there were even some doors that we went through that were not secure. Like one of them, if you step close enough to it, it releases. So if somebody were coming to the outside and you didn't know and you came close enough and that person is not supposed to come in, when you get close enough to the door, it releases to open the door.
Now, did we change the locks out there? Where they
Yeah,
lock
we're
from
working
the-
on, we got almost all of them done now, so I think all of them are done. I'll have to ask Ms. Edmonds, but, and we spend a lot of time working with the adults in the buildings to mitigate
lot.
that risk.
Yep.
So they have a buddy system, there's 11 different buzzers at the front, they got one front office person
Yeah.
that manages all those
A lot
buttons.
of cameras and a lot of buttons.
Yeah, that we
She
saw
has a
that
huge
while we were
computer
walking.
screen and she has all these cameras all over and she watches people and she's buzzing constantly, letting people in and out of buildings.
So we have cameras and we also did we did get those locks changed.
And we have push buttons on the exterior doors. So when the kid leaves one class, the children leave as a class, they go outside, because the cottages are 4 through 8. So when they change classes, they go outside to another cottage, the other kids come out of that cottage and go to another one, so it's a constant flow, but the teachers mitigate that risk. They've done a great job on the perimeter security and all that kind of stuff. I know me and Mr. Magnuson, we were doing an assessment and we were gonna drive around the back. There was teachers on us before we even got out of the parking lot onto that side road. What are y'all doing? Where you going? Oh, sorry, Mr. Step. So they're really, those adults out there make it a safe place, but it's it's one of those things I think we need to look at too.
And how many trailers do they have out there?
They're not using their portables. Those were sold to a private school. They're gonna get those out of there by the end of the year, I think.
Okay.
They're using, I think it's 15 cottages. Is that right, Ms. Holton? Not close?
I think when you and I were out there today, there's some of the original cottages from the 30s that they're using as classrooms, and those are the ones that don't have all the modern facilities in them, and they have to come in and out. So it is something that we need. I don't know if we put it to building and grounds or what we would do.
What year did they renovate?
It's almost 20 years ago when they built the addition. And that's up to 3rd grade is in that addition.
Okay, and I didn't know,
They
that
have the
was
new
way before
gym.
my time.
It's still got the old gym, so.
Okay, that was, I know it's not been in the last 8 years, because that is way before my time, but I didn't know how long.
Their kindergartners eat lunch at 10 o'clock because they have such a small cafeteria.
Right.
They have to funnel the children through there, so the kindergartners eat lunch at 10.
Well, my kindergarten.
And they finish up by 1:30.
Most of our
Right.
smaller grades eat
So
around
they
that time.
can Get them through, everybody served and get cleaned up and.
Even with that, they have a whole green corridor that runs between the gym and, or was it the gym? Yeah, and the cafeteria. Even if we could just take that and blow that wall out and connect them, that would give the kitchen a phenomenal amount of room. They could move that storage in, and then the kids would have adequate places so they wouldn't have to do their lunches so crazy. I don't know how they do what they do.
Are you seriously suggesting we blow a wall?
Yes, blow it out, Teresa.
Hey, we could go out there and do demolition,
No,
take our
Well,
frustration
I
out.
think it's something we can certainly start discussing it, just exactly what needs to transpire, with the exception of blowing walls.
I don't know, I like that idea.
It's just the way she worded it.
We need to
Blow
slow down.
that wall out. That's something we can certainly start moving and start looking at.
To answer your
Examples.
question, I had made a note from the tour. The main building was built in 2002, and the addition is 10 years old, is what I noted from our tour.
Okay, so the addition is 10 years.
It became a school in 1938.
Where's Miss York?
Not you.
She left. Okay, Mr. Step, if you'd like to continue.
Okay, the next is agreement for behavioral services. We do that each year. I don't have to vote on that. Red Ribbon 2023, this is Miss Polson. Some great stuff that she's doing with coordinated school health. So we just want to celebrate what the Red Ribbon Week that she did this year with our K-12 students.
So what Red Ribbon Week is an opportunity to highlight living a drug-free life. And it gives us the opportunity to share the message with our students and our families and everybody. So as a collaborative effort, coordinated school health, the school health teams really led this. The nutrition department took a part in it, the Prevention Coalition, the health department, and Healthier Tennessee all took a part in a couple of weeks that we set aside to recognize the things that we're doing, that we have the mindset of be kind to your mind and live drug-free. So that was the thing. So we kicked it off with our kickball tournament. Kick the bait, kickball. We had representatives from every school. They came play kickball. Martin and Homestead tied for first place. And then SMHS one as the high school, but we had a fabulous time, the first of, I hope, many kickball tournaments we get to have. But when they came to the kickball tournament, they had an opportunity to sign, you'll see the vaping pledge there, anti-vaping pledge there, and they had the opportunity to sign that, and they took those back to every single school in the district. And so they spread the message through that. And then now we're going to look at some collaborative efforts, and you'll see a lot of the staff sending the message of, we support Red Ribbon Week. That was where SMHS sent the message out. You'll see several of their staff in these pictures wearing the red, kicking the vape, and you'll see a lot of collaborative effort with the cafeteria. We collaborated to put together our harvest of the month, which was apples, and then they put messaging that says on each apple packet, it says, "Heroes don't take medication that does not belong to them." That was one of the messages that went out. So, just the efforts of even the cafeteria supporting the message to our kids. They see our staff in red, they see the cafeteria telling them, don't do drugs, don't be doing that, don't take other people's medicine. And so several pictures of SMHS staff here, and some students. And again, they had a red out day, so they took pictures of the red out. And you can see lots of opportunity there to say, hey, this is our message. CCHS had an opportunity to color, and they had some bracelets there. I think everybody in the district got some red bracelets. Here's their vaping pledge, and it's been signed by, I think, every wellness kid in their whole school. And here's the cafeteria staff supporting the bracelets again, with the anti-vaping message. So just looking at some different opportunities that they had. And let's see, the Phoenix School, there's their highlighted hero packets. And then you have the door. They did a door decorating contest. So they had several really interesting collaborations. It was really a great thing. And I think that's every single staff member they have. And as you can see, sending out that message. And again, some more of the doors, right down to the red shoes on their red out day. And again, be kind to your minion. I like that. And then you'll see again, they had their own pledge board made in the school again to reiterate, hey, we want you to sign this pledge and not be vaping, particularly. And at Homestead, they did a really neat opportunity, walking away from drugs. So they had a coloring contest. Everybody colored a shoe, and then they lined the hallways with the shoes, which was it sent a great message. When I saw that, I was like, wow, that just sends a beautiful message. Here's Martin again. Every single school did the little packets, and just a few of them sent me their messaging. But right down to the red in your water. It was a great time. And right now we have, and there's no pictures of it, but we just finished we did a first grade coloring contest and had some winners for those, and they're going to get an ice cream party for their classroom from the health department. And just wanted you to know that we're sending out the message, and that hopefully our students are receiving that we stand for prevention.
So next, we have to decide on our annual board retreat dates. The first Saturday, I'm not available in January, but then any of the other 3 Saturdays. If we look at an agenda and think we need two days, then we need to decide on that also.
We need one.
If we need a second day, we might, or if we need a substitute day in case of weather or something.
Inclement weather date?
Yeah.
We're gonna try to do that on a Saturday.
Or whichever. I was just suggesting Saturdays we could go straight through if we needed to the whole day.
We did Saturday last year.
Yeah.
I cannot do the 27th.
Okay.
I can do the, whatever, 13th to the 20th, 13th and 20th are both open for me. I'm good.
I forgot my calendar, but I'll do whatever.
Yeah.
Saturday the 27th is fine with me.
No, can't.
No, not for him.
Elizabeth can't. So the
I'm sorry, repeat
13th,
that, please.
the 13th and the 20th. Elizabeth can't on the 27th.
The 13th works better for me.
Sorry.
Thank you, I was looking at my calendar and distracted.
Do the 13th with the 20 makeup.
That's a good idea.
When
The
do
20
the
makeup.
teachers come back to school, or the students come back to school?
That first week. No, it's earlier than that.
The 2nd or the
Third.
1st?
Third.
Third.
The 3rd.
The third.
So the students come back the 3rd. And I'm just kind of wondering, does that give?
And the first and fourth
administration-
Saturday is out, so, right?
Does that give
The first and fourth, yeah.
My team will be ready, yes.
Okay. So,
Do the 13th with the 20 as a snow day.
Inclement weather day.
well, our board meeting is when? On the 25th?
25th. Mm-hmm.
So. January's pretty resting.
Me too. Does that sound good? You do the 13th
January
and the
13th, we're gonna start at what, 9 AM?
Whatever y'all wish to. 9 a.m.'s fine with me. We'll have lunch provided.
So the 13th at 9 AM and then the 20th is a
Inclement weather.
inclement weather.
Okay, sounds good.
So if I get up and it's snowing on 13th, I just don't show up, I show up on the 20th?
There you go.
Something like that.
I can do that.
It's gotta be really snowing.
Well, it was icy last year.
Yes, it was. It was very icy.
It was.
Bo had to salt the whole way to us to get in.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so next, 15J is requested by Ms. Stout.
Yeah. Let me get that in.
It's 15I. Or no, it may have changed because mine's not an updated.
My paper one,
Because-
but I'm looking on my computer, so.
Okay.
So I had asked just to put on board meeting notes, committee notes, work session notes, and videos, just so we could have a little discussion about how we would like to handle those going into this new board year for consistency and transparency and timeliness. The board meeting notes are approved at the next board meeting. Currently, our committee notes are approved at the next committee meeting.
Are you talking notes or minutes?
No, well, meeting notes, meeting minutes. Yes, minutes
They're- I
are
started saying there
approved.
is-
Yes, there are two
Yes.
different things.
Minutes, thank you. And the work session minutes, Miss Diane had informed us that those aren't ones that need to be approved or posted by law. And then currently, right now, the videos of our board meetings are posted and the videos of our special call meetings are posted for the public, but we don't post videos from any of the other meetings that we have. So I just wanted us to talk about getting that consistent and in line so notes are available readily for constituents, for board members, for staff, whoever's looking or needing those notes, that we follow the same process
And again, I'm
with the
messing
meeting minutes.
Minutes.
Thank you. I'm looking at notes. It's written notes here on the agenda, so I'm looking at the agenda.
Minutes on that.
And it says notes. So the meeting minutes. I was, in looking at all of that, one of my concerns was the budget committee meeting minutes that are still outstanding from May. We've got 3 committee meetings that we had, the 15th, the 24th, and 30th. And because we had so many back-to-back meetings quickly. Miss Diane wasn't able to get them transcribed for approval at the next committee meeting, and then since the 30th, May 30th, we haven't met again. So we've gone 6 months with those 3 meetings outstanding, and I've had constituents calling me wanting to know where those notes are when they've looked for them, and that's not something that can be made public till we approve them. So some kind of standard, if we're moving forward with committees as a board, I think we need to have some kind of standard in place that if we're having sporadic committee meetings, we still need to have a way of getting those meeting notes approved. Now, whether that be, I know and this is kind of a little bit of a different subject, but at a prior meeting, I mentioned us having all of our committee meetings on one standing night every month. And that way everybody's together, and if the committee doesn't have something that's on the agenda to address, at least they're there and they can approve the notes. Or those notes come before the board at the board meeting, like I had asked tonight for those budget meeting notes to be put on the agenda so the budget committee could get those approved so they weren't outstanding anymore. Some minutes. So there's some way of just getting those approved in a timely manner and making those available for transparency and consistency. And then also with the videos, if we're gonna put out the board meetings and if we're gonna put out the special call meetings, I know for me, if I'm to miss a meeting or for some reason I can't make a committee meeting, it'd be really helpful to hop on and watch a video of a committee meeting.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I have asked, I've been on the board for 5 years, and I've asked several times about why committees are not videoed, because myself, I like to go back and watch all of our meetings, because sometimes when you're sitting in a meeting, you miss something.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have to be absent, or the public want to see those meetings, I think they all should be out there to where we can see them.
I agree. It'll help with promotion, right, which is one of our 3 Ps, right? Like, here's what you're looking at, here's who we are, here's what we do, here's what we're talking about. Yeah, I don't.
And as far as having the committee meetings all in one day, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's something that we could work towards.
That would help my
I didn't mean to interrupt your,
No,
what
no,
you were
this is
talking
for
about, but
discussion,
I want
so-
you to know that I have asked for the videos of the committee meetings before,
So I think it's just something, I mean, there aren't any rules or regulations. It's up to us to kind of formulate our own, other than the state laws that we have to have specific information out there for. So state law does say for our board meetings, they have to be available within 30 days. But I don't know why we'd want to vary from that with our committee or work session notes. I would think we'd want to be consistent with what we're doing with our board notes too.
I just said that would help with my staff. I mean, staying after our work hours 50 times a year is a little bit of pull on certain members that have church obligations and other obligations outside of just the job. So that would help.
if we did the committee meetings all in one day.
Certain staff members have to be here. Like say for Miss Diane, she's out sick, but she's here. And we've had meetings called and it's on her church night or some other night, so they have to readjust their schedule with a week notice and stuff like that. If there was one day, it's nailed, my staff is here available, and we know the whole staff's gonna be here available, except some are at a conference right now, but, Title I, but.
Be more efficient.
And we can all plan on that. We could pick a date, like, the week prior to our board meeting, and that way it'd be a standing night that we could all plan to be here for.
Recording the meetings isn't as easy as just pushing a button. Albert does Mr. Farley does a great job with formatting those and getting those ready as quick as he can to get them posted. But that takes a lot of work, and he usually does it, either the night of the meeting or the next morning. He tries to work on it, but it takes a while to get all of that set up exactly the way you want it
to post it.
So that it's clear, everything's clear, and you can hear everything and all that kind of stuff. Production, I guess I should say.
But that would be something that would be feasible to do.
If it was one day, I think so.
I have a question. Since we're gonna have a retreat in January, could we not put this as one of the agenda items for the retreat?
You could.
I was looking at you.
When is your
Madam Chair.
next policy meeting?
It will not be until January.
January,
It's the
what
second
date?
Wednesday.
It is normally the second Wednesday at 4:30 PM. It was misquoted last time, or I misspoke it and said 4, but it is the second Wednesday at 4:30.
If we did the one day, what I would recommend is the week before on a Wednesday, or I think certain people can only come on certain days, so I think.
It makes it easier for, I know Ms. Stoll on Wednesday, but she is very good about working with us, and so.
So I would pick one day the week before, and that way you can create, get your committee business on the board agenda and all that kind of stuff, and plenty of time to public notice everyone.
Well, public notice for the agenda is, what, 7 days before the meeting?
6 days.
We try to, yes.
6 days, so that it needs to be, the meeting
Tuesday,
date
Wednesday,
should
Thursday.
be at least 7 days or 6 days before that date.
So the Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday before our.
The week before.
Yeah.
Before.
Unless you
Now,
have lagging data.
if on that day the policy meets, budget doesn't have any business, or building and grounds has no
Yeah, we
business,
just
you
look
don't
right
meet.
through it.
Then you just announce that some committees will not have, meet on that day, because normally it is budget, or not budget, but policy that has something every month. Most of the time, budget meets heavy.
It's heavy in March and April and.
Yeah, and,
That's-
but buildings and grounds and safety doesn't have something, in athletics every month.
Yeah.
They don't.
Although we had several building ground last year, but that way though, we can approve minutes, and that's done.
Well, I can tell you that budget, now, the budget committee is Mr. King and Nita Hill and myself, and there are some preliminary budget issues that we would like to discuss. So we have tentatively set, but I can move that to the next day. We set it for the 9th, her meeting's on the 10th. So we could move it to
Coordinate
the
that.
next day, coordinate that, and have no problem with that.
So,
And the meetings, the committee meetings could expand or contract
Accordingly.
according to the business that they have. And we can make a timed agenda for the meetings,
Okay.
for the committee meetings.
Yeah.
So that it's all in one day, and everything then could be recorded.
right,
And then it would be much easier on one day to record it rather than record 46
Multiple
different
meetings.
meetings.
right,
Absolutely.
yep. So we're taking care of it being recorded, so if someone misses, the public and staff can see the recordings, and then we're also taking care of making sure we're approving notes in a timely manner, so those are available. Okay.
The problem with approving the minutes, now, this is just my understanding, and Mr. Patton or Ms. Boston can correct me. The minutes belong to the committee.
Yes.
That's why you don't approve them until the next committee
Yes.
meeting.
Can one of y'all provide some clarity on that? Like, when you say,
Mr. Patton, will you provide clarity on the committee minutes belonging to the committee?
Well, I mean, sure. I'm not sure.
We don't approve, like, say, budget committee, the minutes for that meeting.
Correct.
We normally do not approve them until the next budget meeting. They're not brought to the full board for approval because they belong to the committee.
Right.
Now,
Right, it wouldn't be the full board. I guess what I was asking for having it on the agenda tonight was to have the board, the previous board committee members that were involved in those meetings to approve those, not the full board to approve it. So that was just an alternate. If we're not gonna have enough committee meetings where we can approve those in a timely manner, then we need to be able to bring them forward in a meeting where the committee can approve
Well,
it.
if Diane's got them ready, you can request a.
Board member
official-
can.
Yes.
Yeah, but other,
If you've got constituents
Right.
asking you for those, you could request unofficial minutes.
and you can give them to them if you.
I've had constituents that were told the note that they couldn't have them because they hadn't been approved
are we
yet,
able
so
to,
they're
the
calling me.
question is, are we able to share
Unofficial minutes?
committee minutes?
that have not been approved.
Before they've officially been approved, like we approved the minutes for today's meeting.
As long as you would.
Like, what's keeping us from sharing those minutes ultimately?
That was
is the
guidance
question.
from TSBA to Miss Diane. It was the training that she did.
Well, there's also something that, something comparable. We put the minutes for public display of our full board meeting, 6 days before the meeting, and it's not been approved. So it just makes sense that if we have a committee meeting and there are minutes that are taken, they should be accessible to the public, even though they're not approved yet, with a stamp saying these are not approved by the committee at this point. But there's another point too that you brought out, and is what does it really require to approve a committee meeting? Because it's not although it's an official meeting, it's not an official meeting of the full board or a majority of board members. So it could be just approved by the chairperson for immediate release.
I know Diane and Ms. Tabitha, they have unofficial minutes before they're approved, but they have a time frame. They don't have them like immediate, right?
Right. So with me doing special call and board meetings, mine is due to Diane the Wednesday before it's published to each other.
So she actually has a month before, but Diane sometimes has unofficial that might have spelling errors. They might have different things because they've not been.
So there's nothing keeping us from releasing minutes is ultimately what I'm hearing.
Right, and there's two types of minutes here, the videos for our committee meetings could be, meet the details of the minutes of that meeting, and then a summary of what was voted on in the committee meeting could be the official minutes, not approved yet, but the official minutes. So I've always thought that that the videos would supplant the long and accurate minutes that you've been taking. But I don't see any reason why we can't do that for committee meetings.
Yeah.
It's just a summary of, I remember when Virgie we'd have these long discussions, and Virgie would put, a discussion was held.
Yeah.
And unless you told Virgie, I want to be quoted on this,
Yeah.
she just put discussion held.
Well, there's not a requirement to do a word for word, but
Right.
that's where the video would suffice for that. So I think just getting on board with putting some of these things in place so we can move forward with the process.
You may want to talk to Mr. Farland about.
Yeah, what would happen if he...
narrow it down to one meeting.
Entail to
If
video.
it takes a lot. I talked to him this afternoon, a little bit about it. How long does it take him to do the production side? What's it take? It's just a lot. It's time consuming to get that production where it comes out, where it's very clear.
But if we do it all in one day,
That would work.
that and our regular board meeting, of
That
course,
would be-
if there's a special call or something in between. And there are times that special call meetings have to be done, so. But anyway.
Okay, so what, if we were to go to, would we need any change in policy? What policy number, if we moved over to committees for one day a month and had all three committees,
I didn't see anything in policy that specifies where or when we need to meet.
You won't have to change any of that.
do we want
to define it?
Do we want to define it?
Well, I'm hoping to be able to look at some of the policies that we have been talking about and bringing up. I'm hoping to be able to look at some of those, because some of them do need some changes to them. Some of them need some dates added to them. So in January, I'm hoping to be able to put a lot of those policies on there.
Would it be too spontaneous for me to follow up with Shannon's comments by moving to hold our committee meetings on one day, just as a general starter.
You're making a motion?
Yeah, is that?
I would go back and, I mean, we've all agreed to do that.
Have
but
we all
there's-
agreed?
There's going to be a point to where, budget can't do that.
Yes.
Yeah, there might be a few more budget
At a
meetings.
place that
Mhm.
budget
Right,
cannot
budget's
do
gonna have
that.
to win.
So,
Right.
if, if you just maybe
Well, as a chairperson.
consider
to the-
working with each other.
Right, as a chairperson to the Building and
Building and
Grounds Committee,
Grounds.
I want to hold my meeting the same day.
Well, then,
And
you can set your meeting.
And it encourages, right, it
What's
encourages
the other?
everybody.
What about your?
If I may,
Yeah.
I'm just, to both of y'all's point, the budget is obviously gonna be as needed, right? To when things require.
During budget
attention
season.
During budget season, no doubt about that, 100% agree. But all the other ones that are similarly as needed but yet scheduled, if we make the attempt to put them all in that same day, it's gonna certainly encourage everyone to add a day to their calendar that they can count on and then participate in that meeting.
It makes sense.
To where there's not a constant divide of, I can't be there, I wish I could be there. Well, what happened? I don't know, I wasn't there. Well, the
Wasn't given the
meeting, the
opportunity.
minutes aren't available, like there's this constant churn of lack of information. So if we can shore that up,
All
I
right,
think that
so
would be
if
super
we're all
helpful.
in agreement, but we haven't taken a vote, that we'll have the meetings on one day, we can work through the details with our chairperson, and you will help communicate to everyone what day, including.
And since policy is and most of the time a monthly meeting, it would,
Yeah.
it'd be like policy, building ground safety,
Well, and also you're going to, if you start your policy, how many policies do you have on that day that you've got to address? How
exactly,
long
so we
is that
can't we're not gonna be able to do timeframes.
How long is that discussion gonna take? What is it you're considering? Then Building and Grounds is set immediately behind, but yet he has equally as many issues to be discussed and whatever. You're both talking about timeframes. Miss Hale, and I'm gonna pick on you just a minute, may need to be at choir on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock.
Well,
So-
and Wednesday night's a church night, I don't know,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Shouldn't have it on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
If we just decide to do this all in one day, could it not be worded, we are doing all of our board committee meetings on the third Tuesday of the month, starting at 4:30. Meetings will be back to back. There will not be a set time for each committee.
We start at this time.
We start at this time and we will go
Yes.
through each committee that has an
I think
agenda.
that's reasonable, however, I think you also have to, as the chairperson or as the committee members, realize what you've got on the agenda, what is going to be held in that meeting.
Yes.
We have to use our time wisely.
Right, well-
You'll be here at 9 o'clock.
I mean-
Use our time wisely.
I mean,
that's-
with all the Building and Ground Committee meetings that we had, I think I can recall, we had at least half of those meetings where we brought up discussions on issues and didn't vote on them. But we didn't have to, because we could turn to our director of schools and ask the director what needs to be voted on and what's the issue. And if there's something that's important that we need to bring up to him, we do it before the meeting and say, how do you want to handle this?
Right.
Absolutely.
I think most of our committee meetings ran 20 minutes to 60 minutes on average. All of them, because I don't even remember policy committee meetings going much longer than an hour.
I mean,
At the most.
I see it working really well. And you'll
Okay.
have to excuse me, I am not being disrespectful. I've got to go. I'll be back.
But we're gonna move forward.
Okay. You go.
Becky, just real quick, for the retreat, you were talking about the policies for January, that the retreat, when we get to the board operations part, that might be a good part to do some of the
Is there a
discussions
board
regarding that.
operations part of the retreat?
Can you do that? That we did last year.
We
did
did
last
that
year.
last year, but I've
So I'm
not seen
assuming
an
we're
agenda for the
gonna have
retreat.
some of that in the
I think
retreat,
one's
so.
been set yet.
Okay. You had me confused because I'm like, where's this agenda?
We had board operations last year, so since it's a board retreat, board operation
Get the
discussion.
cart before the
When
horse
do we set that?
for the 13th.
No, but I mean, when would we set the agenda for the?
Ms. Boston and I have been communicating on what we think.
After Christmas.
Well,
Working on it.
and humor
I
me.
didn't mean to look at you.
How do we
It was like-
make a recommendation to add something to that agenda, or is that exclusively for you all to
No,
decide?
send an email.
Okay,
Send an email to Mr. Staff, you can send an
I'm
email to
caught
me,
up
you
now,
can send
but
an
I was
email
awesome.
to whomever if you've got something you wanted added to. Okay, if we could, I think our folks in the audience are going to get,
Ms. Chairman?
And I have a young man who's had surgery and I need to get home, so.
do it.
We didn't acknowledge our students. Hi, guys.
Our student representative.
I'm sorry.
Miss Diane didn't make my notes.
That's why. Hello.
Thank you for being here and thank you for
Thanks for
serving.
being here, you guys.
You're getting caught up and I'm gonna get you home, I promise. Do you have school tomorrow?
Yeah.
You have homework to do?
Oh, that's good.
Okay, that's good.
We don't feel bad.
Well, I apologize and we do acknowledge you and
Yes, we do.
appreciate you sitting up here.
Yes.
And if you ever have anything to add, please feel free. We're here on this podium because of you.
Right.
And if your additions, your comments could be valuable,
Yep, we'll take them.
throw them in there. But you just have to get my attention.
Well, I would like to just add in real quick, going back to the homestead safety issue, and you mentioned the window coverings. And I attended North Cumberland from 1st through 8th grade, and I know that when we added the window coverings there, I also went to Miss Loretta's the aftercare program, which by the way, she's amazing. Please do not ever get rid of her, I love her so much. She saved my mom and I so many times. But we would have, in the summertime and after school, people would come through. We had sometimes like strange people come through. So I know that once we added the window coverings where you couldn't see inside, I felt personally a lot safer. So I think that's a good idea to add to even all the schools. It's not even.
Thank you.
Young lady, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, feel free to punch Earl. Who punch Becky on down the line, just to get my attention. Or if you'll just say, Madam Chair. That information was valuable because we actually learned how a student felt. And that's why we're here.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Anytime, you feel free. And you punch the little fellow beside you. About that.
Bravo. Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Director, let's.
So moving on, just school update. Normally I have like 4 or 5 pages, but it's almost 8, so I'm just gonna say a couple of things. So tomorrow night, we get to celebrate in Nashville. One of our supervisors, Miss Marlene Holton, is a semifinalist for the state of Tennessee. I think you already heard earlier how amazing she is in her department, so.
She is amazing, and I can attest to that because I've got a great niece who absolutely loves her, so.
So I'm excited to get to go up to Nashville and celebrate that with her. We've completed all 9 visits. We've already talked about that, of all the schools. Holiday programs, check out the school websites and newsletters and go to your district if you can. There's a lot going on. I've already been to some this week. Like the gentleman talked earlier, basketball has been going on strong for a while for elementary. Martin girls and boys won the championship for the county. And currently middle schools are in their season, high schools in their season. They got bowling going on too for Miss Hale, so she needs to stop by there.
I saw them.
We got end of course exams going on this week, so we get to see the success and growth of our students and their learning. And then we have several administrators and staff at the Federal Programs Conference in Sevierville. And then, of course, we've already celebrated music programs tonight, but we got 2 great band directors sitting right here, Dr. Butcher and Mr. Johnson. I have a bunch more, but we'll move on. But thank you
If I could just add something to that, we got some fabulous feedback from the principals and the teachers at the
Yes, we
schools
did.
that are doing the benchmarking.
Yeah, it was awesome.
They had really good feedback about that when we did the school tours. So
That's
as
it.
part of the director's piece, the benchmarking you've talked about a lot.
So that's some of the growth that we've been seeing. We've added the benchmarks, and some schools are doing weekly, so we know in real time what the kids are learning and not learning, so we can reteach, relearn, and make sure we hit all that. So, yeah, the benchmarking was a big move. Next is the annual planning calendar. So I sent an email out earlier today. I missed something on that, and I've already talked to Mr. Patton. He's going to go ahead and initiate the DOS evaluation and the BOE self-evaluation. So that was actually listed in November, but I missed it. So,
Wait, excuse me.
yep.
Now, the board evaluation is not on here, on the
And Ms.
planning
Diane
calendar.
didn't add it yet.
But we're gonna add
We're
that.
gonna add it,
Okay.
because that's what the board agreed upon, so.
No problem.
So, got that going on. The rest is FYI with attendance reports, warm body counts, personnel reports, school nutrition, some staff changes, substitute list. So we found some more people that are willing to come in and work, and then our newsletters and calendars.
For hardly anyone.
And that's director's report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stepp.
Okay. Moving on, Ms. Hamby, if you would please, your policy committee
Went to the
report.
bathroom.
Stepped out. Switch the order, move it to.
Okay,
Turn it around. Okay.
she'll be back in just a moment. Mr. Davis, are you gonna have anything from the athletic committee?
The athletic committee has not met. As we've all known, we're working through who was on what committee. But I do know that in talking to Mr. Stepp, that a lot of effort has been put into the structure to help frame the move that the athletic committee supported last year, with all of y'all's support to make the middle school something that the students can work toward. And that's not been a light task. They've had to employ all those people we put the budget together for, and they've had to learn a rule book and adjust a rule book, and work with coaches and work very diligently on the fly in short order. And I know to Mr. Futral's point, there's been some pains that have taken place, but I know that it's not falling on deaf ears, right? Mr. Stepp and his group are working very diligently to try to make everybody have the opportunity to make their voice heard and correct a situation as it needs to be addressed. All the athletic directors, to my knowledge, are working alongside him to make sure those things are happening. So.
I've heard some concerns about some of the referees not being able to find the schools because they're not familiar with our areas and our different schools, and some of them are getting there late, not intentionally, but just so they have to learn, because we're getting them, I assume we're getting them from out of town and they're not local.
Use their GPS.
Yeah,
So,
GPS
GPS
I thought
is
you were
even
going to say
not
they were
taken.
blowing calls. I was like, well.
Say again?
I thought you were going to say they were blowing calls.
But I've heard,
Absolutely.
heard of referees not getting to the different schools until games are quite already going.
I know we adopted, this full board adopted the TMSAA rule book.
Mm-hmm.
But then do we have local rules that apply as well?
Yes. For yes.
Yeah, we're working on that now. It's transition, so we're trying to clean everything up.
So as problems arise,
We're
we're addressing them.
in real time.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. But
At all hours.
I just didn't understand. I thought TMSAA came with a rule book.
That was the expectation, and that was my intent.
Okay.
We've had our own set of rules in Cumberland County for many, many years, so there was a little confusion in setting that up. So we're working on cleaning all that up, so it's just those rules.
Yeah, and to your point, right, there's a mesh between non-middle school eligible athletes, right? So the sub-6th grade athletes, so 4th, 5th, and if there's younger ones, that's what the elementary procedure model essentially is needing to be modified the most, essentially, is to put itself in line with that, to still create as many opportunities for those kids to be positioned and prepared for the middle school experience.
Is that going to take place to where, I think our major concern to begin with was everyone still had an opportunity to play somewhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that still our goal?
Oh, 100%. 100%. And not only that, is to partner with, and where there's not opportunity to create. I know Mr. Stepp had mentioned also talking about making an effort when talking to some of the principals and athletic directors about adding flag football, and then some of the renovations to some of the, we'll just say, I don't know, retired fields,
Well, we took bleachers
Sure.
from some retired fields.
Yep.
When we stopped football,
Right.
we kind of went around and stole bleachers from them.
Right. So yeah, just to your point, trying to add as many opportunities as out there, right? That's going to be directly in line, obviously, with the strategic plan and the promotion of the athletic department, and the continuity with the community and the local youth sports, all the way through the high school experience and beyond. So a lot of effort being made there. So work in progress. But
You have the official report from the athletic committee. Thank you.
Yep.
If we could, Ms. Hamby.
Sorry about that, after having part of the kidney removed, when you gotta go, you gotta go. So,
If we could have the committee report.
we had first and final reading policies, and it was 1.105, 1.701, 2.400, 2.601, 2.8051, 4.301, and 4.603. And they came out of committee to the, with recommendation of the committee to the full board. Most of these were TSBA recommendations, and one was from Dr. Maddox. And I believe the only thing was, Ms. Boston, did you have a question on one of the policies? You had talked about it during the meeting, and we had already voted to bring it to the full board, so I wanted to make sure. And I'm sorry, I do not have that note with me.
Can you get the minutes on that so I know what I asked? I do.
You do ask a lot of questions, but it can actually be.
Apparently, it was not that big of an issue for us. I probably got my notes with my policies, but I'm going to answer that. I'm good.
Okay, so all of these came out of the policy committee, and the reason we did the first and final readings was because TSBA's, they were already signed into law, and so we needed our policies to match the law, and so we needed to get that done first and final. We have went back to doing first reading and second reading, so unless it is something detrimental. And we got these late, TSBA did also. And Ms. Stoll?
The policy in question that you had was about fundraisers, 2.601, and it was about whether or not the board
needed to be
had to be involved in it.
Thank you. You have a better memory than I do. She's young.
I try.
And that would be my question is, I think by the time you verify with the principal, you make a proposal to the principal, and I know it involves funds, and correct me if I'm wrong, if the funds stay within the school, does that ever come to your department or the CFO department? So that stays within school bookkeeping, and it's not ours. Is that correct? Okay.
But it is reportable.
It is recordable, but.
And it's audited.
And it's audited.
Right.
It's
So-
audited. They do the audit every year. Is there any reason for the board to be involved in those fundraisers?
I can't really say why they would.
Unless a problem arose, and then they could actually bring that to the board. So would you want me to pull that policy for us to, but it's already signed into law, so
I
we
sort of
need
say, I don't want to
we don't
change
wanna,
it.
no.
We can go back, if you'll make a note. to
And look at that
modify
in
that,
January, maybe?
And maybe look at removing the board from it. I mean, I think if the principal signs off, the teacher signs off on it, the principal signs off on it, the club sponsor signs off on it, they send it all to Mr. Stepp and he signs off on it. I mean, it's gone through 4 or 5 stages already.
Yes.
And if it's not required, I don't know why we would.
And since this came out of policy, we don't need a second, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, say that.
Since these fundraisers aren't in our budget,
I wouldn't
we
think,
don't need to approve.
Other than, there was some law changes in it that has to stay, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
So,
there was.
Yeah.
There were.
so we actually still have to move on with the budget, with the policy, because there were some things that are still,
That were still valid.
yeah.
When those things come up, then we look at it.
I'm sorry?
When those things come up, then we approve. If they don't come up, we don't have to worry about it. Because they're already taken care of at the local level.
I mean, that would be less that the board would have to address, and that gives us more time to address.
Absolutely, and like I said, we can
issues.
put this on January,
That's fine.
and then we can actually take that do what we need to with that policy.
Okay, we have
Is that okay with you, Mr. King? Okay.
we have a first and final reading of the policies coming out of policy committee. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Kathleen, you have your policies. You can give them to Diane. There's nothing to report on the budget committee. There have been no meetings. Mr. Saffey, Building and Grounds.
There have been no meetings on Building and Grounds, but there are things that I am sure the Director of Schools would want us to discuss, and I'll wait for your input, and we'll schedule the first meeting when we all have our committee meetings.
Yeah, I think from our discussion on Homestead tonight, that might be something that the board wants to
Absolutely, that's
task
what I
the
was
budget
thinking
committee,
about.
or the building ground committee, safety committee with.
Check with Mr. Stepp and Mrs. Hamby.
Next on the agenda is our financial officer's report.
Well, as you can see from our revenue page, we have finally started collecting a few property taxes. As the mayor said the other day, a lot of people pay that when they first get their bill, and then those will wait till the very last minute. So, but we are seeing some revenue from that, so we have got our revenue coming in. It is at 28% of budget, which is about what I would expect it to be at this point in the year. Expenditures are at 27.5%. So basically, our expenditures are still running about $200,000 above our revenues. Any questions on that? I've reviewed the department budgets. Everybody's doing a really good job staying within lines of what they budgeted. They're doing a fantastic job. Next, on the sales tax report, the news isn't quite as good. We're behind $200,000 on sales tax. However, that's to budget. Actually, we're about almost $10,000 ahead of where we were this time last year. So the news may not be quite as bad as what we think. Holiday season is coming, and that's when we see a pretty large influx on the sales tax. You got to remember, this is a lag of 2 months on this.
Okay, so what sales tax are we looking at?
Well, what shows up in November is really what went to the government or what was collected September, October. Because like in November, you don't have to have the taxes that you've collected until the state until the 20th of December.
Okay.
So it lags back like that. So
Do we ever catch up?
No, not really. But I think it will look decisively better probably January, February.
Okay.
Hopefully. But like I said, we're still running ahead of where we were last year, so I'm not getting too excited just yet. Next, we have a few budget amendments. not too many this month. The first one is the ISM budget amendment. This is just basically, according to Dr. Eldridge, the state has come back on our ISM grant and said, we want you to put some things in some different accounts. There's no new money here. She's basically just moving the money that she currently has where they told her to put it.
So where we first put it,
They told her they want it more defined. So they've given her some additional accounts and just asked her to structure it a little bit different. But the monies are all the same. They're just being moved to different accounts.
and for each school is the same?
Correct, yes, it is by school. Which is unique. The next one is the funds that we received through the American Rescue Plan for our North Kids Club. This is the third year that we've received those funds. This will be the third and final year, but this is for our after-school program at North.
Move to approve 141 budget amendments.
Second. Any discussion? Ms. Stoll?
No. Oh, yes.
We have to do a roll call since Ms.
Sorry. Yes.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Yes.
Mr. Safety?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Hamby?
Yes.
And Ms. Stout?
Yes.
And Chair votes yes, so motion is approved.
The next ones are our federal budget. I'll just read some notes that Dr. Witt left for me. The first one, they are increasing the equipment line to provide some ESL equipment that has been requested, $1,750. Then there's the next one, the federal budget, that's just redistributing to match the E-plan. And then the final one, the HQIM literacy. It's my understanding that we received some additional monies from that grant, and this is how we decided to distribute.
Move to approve 142 budget amendments.
Second. Any discussion? Any questions? Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Yes.
Mr. Safety?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Hamby?
Yes.
Ms. Stout?
Yes.
And board chair votes yes, motion is approved.
Thank you
Now-
very much.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
Or Ms. Brown, sorry.
It's all.
Next on the agenda, before we get to the consent agenda, we moved,
Miss Hamby's. Did we let Miss Hamby do hers?
We didn't have a report on here
I was
for
gonna
her.
say, I didn't
We,
see
it was earlier, there was an annual report earlier for the school nutrition program that we,
Did we skip it?
Did I skip it?
no, it was in my report. I showed y'all that we have the national,
And we didn't need to vote on it.
don't have to vote on
No,
it,
it's just a
Okay.
just for your
FYI.
information.
Okay,
Would you
thank
like
you.
to talk to us about it?
Thank you, Miss Hamby, for all you do.
Whether you want to talk to us or not,
Well, it's totally up to the board.
you
If-
did an absolute fabulous
Fabulous
job.
job.
You and your
We
staff.
appreciate you.
And
Appreciate it
you
very
have no
much.
idea how much this board and our commissioners appreciate what you do for us and the students. You outdid yourself tonight.
I have an awesome team that makes me look good.
Well, they made you look good tonight.
They did.
So,
You shine.
we've already looked at it in lieu of time, unless Kathy just has something she would like to add.
No, I think everything's there. I'm just here if there's questions. I'll be glad to answer.
I don't think anybody ever questioned you.
Question you. I have never questioned you.
I think during COVID, you well above proved yourself.
The summer, you're amazing.
So unless, then we can move forward, Kathy, and you're fine?
Yes.
Okay.
Does Mr. Stepp have any other comments about that?
Oh, they're amazing. I love it. Going in the kitchens, they're wonderful people and they love on the kids like you would not believe.
Yes.
They do.
I happened to
Pretty
do
impressive.
November Thanksgiving dinner at one of the schools, and it was excellent.
And 100% on their scores for their.
Yes.
Kitchens, yeah. And the holiday dinners begin next week. Is
Yes,
that correct?
Wednesday, December 13th.
13th, correct.
Should be most schools.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes.
Is it true that Miss Terry Ann Lee, the cafeteria manager, and Letta Whitcomb from Crab Orchard Cafe and Sherry Russell from North all help create the dinner that you served us tonight.
Yes, they sure did.
I would like to, and I'm sure the board
Yes,
would like,
thank
we
you.
want to thank you all. Thank you. Pass it on.
Matter of fact, I'm not doing anything tomorrow night, if you'd like.
There's probably leftovers. Holiday leftovers, yeah.
You know, I'm gonna let staff here at the central office eat those. But no, you do a fabulous job and we appreciate it. But moving on to business, there was a request from the CCHS cheerleaders. They are going to nationals. We have a policy that gives us the authority, and we have budgeted money, $1,500 per request. They are requesting those funds in order to add to their monies that it's gonna cost them to go to Nashville's, I think in Orlando, is where they're going. And money has to be voted on separately. So I'll entertain a motion to grant.
I'll
the
make a motion,
request
we
and-
approve.
Second.
Third.
Nick, you can have this second.
I'd like to get out much.
I just, for the
Say it
discussion.
quicker, Nick.
Any discussion?
Yeah, did you read their proposal carefully?
Yes.
These people are so smart. This teacher who wrote this proposal, it was so clear, and I read every sentence of it, and I'm going, this woman is amazing. Absolutely amazing in terms of that ability to present in such a short 3 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs what the cheerleading team had accomplished and where they were going and their needs.
She does a great job. But, okay, so we have a motion to approve and to grant their request for $1,500 from the board, and I have a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Yes.
Mr. Safdie?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Hibby?
Yes.
And Ms. Stout?
Yes.
And chair votes yes, so motion is approved. If you'll let the cheerleaders.
Absolutely.
Wish it could be more.
So consent agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? To the bottom of the. There you go. I just had to find my sheet. You what? Okay. No, we're down to, is there any old business?
I just had a couple things. I know it's been a long meeting, so I'll make it quick, but I want to make sure we talk about it before we roll into the new year. Since we're reinitiating the board and DOS evaluation, Mr. Stepp mentioned tonight and sent the email on, I'm gonna resurrect my suggestion from June. I'm gonna make it a motion so we can vote on it, that we actually get TSBA involved as a facilitator of this evaluation round, of our board evaluation. They will come in and do what Earl did last year, Mr. Patton did last year. They'll go ahead and facilitate the surveys, collect all the information, and then they'll actually hold a day retreat workshop or whatever you want to call to work with us on the areas that we feel we need improvement. So I'm suggesting that because it's very obvious that we struggled through the last one and had some issues with that. It's a cost of $1,500, but they schedule it at our request.
Is this under old business?
Under old business.
Okay, thank you. I got lost there.
Yes, ma'am. So I'm making a motion that we bring them in as a facilitator for the board evaluation this time around to assist us with that.
I'll second it.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
Do we pay them?
Yes.
Yes.
$1,500.
Be part of our professional development funds possibly.
But how did we come up, didn't we come up with, TSBA helped us with those other questions? Didn't we get that from them, Mr. Patton?
Yes, I believe that a lot of that information was taken from a previous evaluation.
Which we had gotten from TSBA.
Yes, ma'am.
But they don't just advise, they'll tabulate everything, they report the results at the retreat, and then they conduct a team building session to identify areas in which the board excels and areas needing improvement to help us work together as a team going forward.
So that's a separate,
That's all part of it.
no, that's a separate day. That
Right.
all we talk about is this evaluation.
Right. So we would do the evaluation, they tabulate, they administer, tabulate, and then we have this retreat where they go over everything with us and we work together in a
Well-
team building session.
Why would we need them to tabulate it whenever it was already tabulated?
The new one.
We got the results anyway.
This
Why
is
would
for
we
the
have to pay
next-
somebody to?
This is for the next survey that we're preparing to do.
She's asking, why do we need them to count it for us, right? I mean, I think the answer is not that we need them to count it as much as we need them to help facilitate what we're going to do with that information.
Which we tried to do ourselves last time, to no avail.
Like, are we gonna give Mr. Stepp a demotion? Are we gonna reduce his pay? Are we gonna give him a raise? Are we gonna change his job description? Are we going to review our own internal operations based on our conduct or our own evaluation? Like, I don't know what I don't know, but hopefully they do because they do this.
But this is not something, this is not a requirement. So if you want to attend, you can, and if you don't, you don't.
But if
Because,
we're gonna build board relationship, we need to do something better than what we're doing.
well, like I said, you know, obviously, there's no question. But there again, we've attempted, we've listened. I think we're all adults, and we all know where our strengths lie. We know where our weaknesses lie.
I think the point is they can give us some tools to help us go through that process, to work together on it.
We've done that a long time ago. And not during the past 8 years, but then we decided not to, or the future boards decided not to because they didn't want to spend the $1,500. But I thought it was a good idea. I mean, you get an outsider to come in and review the stuff and talk frankly about things that maybe we could not talk about frankly with our
Well,
own
if it's an
internal
open meeting,
offices.
so would the media was the media involved?
Yeah, media would be there too.
Okay, because we're all together discussing, yeah, okay.
I'm sure they would go with, since they're conducting it, whatever guidelines and laws we have to follow.
So your motion is to hire at $1,500 TSBA to do the evaluations.
To conduct the evaluations, facilitate the evaluations, and conduct the board retreat from that information. So it's all one package that they do for us.
Okay. Let's start, Ms. Stout, how do you vote? Because it involves money.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Hamby?
I'm gonna pass for a moment. I'm thinking, so.
Okay, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Safety?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Yes.
Ms. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
Yes.
Ms. Hamby?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion carries. Will you facilitate that, Mr. Stepp?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the media?
Oh, I just one more little quick thing to bring up. Doesn't require a vote, but I just wanted to remind everybody that back in June, and Tabitha, I think we emailed on this a little bit a few months ago, but back in June, we were in that BOE training session that several of us attended. And at that time, we agreed that we were gonna start using the electronic voting on the system.
When Amber came, Jennifer Amber.
We all went
came
through the
from
training on
TSN,
how to do it.
And we had said give us a little bit of time.
We were gonna start it in July, and that never came to fruition. And I talked with Tabitha and Miss Diane about it, but since so much time had passed, I wanted to bring it back up at the board meeting again too. So for the new year, if we wanted to go back and start doing that, since we talked about doing that starting in July.
And she did say if there's some that is not comfortable doing it, then you don't have to, and Tabitha can still.
Well, and I also think the general public needs to hear how we vote.
She announces it afterwards,
I
so we
understand
all
that, but I
vote
think
and then
they
she
need to
announces it.
Hear from us. I think I've had a request and I've had some comments made that the public sometimes doesn't understand and doesn't get what we're doing, what we're saying, and why we're doing it. And I think, in my opinion, how I vote, how I look, how I sound, tells the general public, I don't care to vote electronically. Tabitha's going to set me up anyway. And then she just says it passes. But then the general public has no idea how we voted.
Until the minutes
and
come
how
out.
we supported anything.
Well, you call out afterwards is how we were trained, right? So we all vote electronically, and then you call out afterwards what the votes were.
And that's adding.
Manually, but I have to type your motions in real time. So when you make a motion and somebody makes a move and somebody makes another move and then we go back to the motion, it can get really confusing really quick because everything is in real time. So it can get hairy really quick. Just keep that in mind.
Electronically.
So with revisiting it, then are we deciding now we don't want to do the electronic?
I think it's 8:30. How about for another day?
Okay, board retreat agenda?
I think we've discussed.
Board retreat agenda?
I'm gonna apologize in advance.
Oh, go ahead, Earl.
No. Oh, go ahead, Dick. I'm sorry.
No, carry on.
I just wanted to verify with this vote that there is nothing needed from me with regard to evaluations.
No.
Thank you very much.
Your secretary will love you.
I know you're disappointed.
Okay, Mr. Davis.
So, old business that I would like to bring up is surrounding the November 30th meeting that I was unable to attend. So, I know everybody's ready to go. There wasn't another opportunity to bring this up really, other than now, and it's at the end of the meeting, so that's the reason for the apology. I think we've had a pretty productive board meeting today, and I've seen a lot of effort from everybody on willingness to work together, and that's pretty encouraging. In the spirit of that, I can't help but note that during that meeting that I wasn't able to attend, that there are rules pertaining to how that business is conducted. And of those rules, based on Robert's Rules of Order, there are rules that protect absentees that cannot be suspended, even by unanimous consent of removal of Robert's Rule of Orders from any meeting.
Mr. Patton.
I guess I'm gonna ask, while Earl is looking at that, protect absentees from what?
From being able to participate in the meeting.
Are you suggesting we have the meeting over?
I'm suggesting that I'm gonna challenge the outcome from the vote that was taken in that.
Well, it was a 5-3 vote. And even if it would either be 6-3 or 5-4. So you want to re-vote?
Well, I'd like to challenge that we can't operate that way and make a motion to go back to the previous committee, right? So,
I think we were advised by council on that day that we could.
well, in my recollection of his minutes, he didn't really recommend anything.
He recommended we suspended Robert's.
Here's what I recall. Here's what I recall that unasked, right? We didn't ask you. You volunteered it, non-information is what I'll call it. Okay. Right. So you alluded to the fact that we may have the opportunity to suspend Robert's Rule of Order, but you're not really sure if that's what we're needing to do in to actually change the course of the meeting and the outcome of a vote that was held under Robert's Rule of Order. So,
I'll say this, your policy 1.405 establishes, I mean, it's entitled Rules of Order.
right,
And it establishes that the board should follow Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, which is a little bit different. But it also very specifically says under line 13, well, actually line 14, rules of order may be suspended by a majority vote of the membership at any regular or special meeting.
right,
And that's what that advice was based on.
okay. But does Robert's Rule of Order also not protect you from absentees being suspended even though there's a unanimous or consent or actual vote?
Well, Robert's Rules of Order may do that, but your board policy says that you can suspend those rules of order. Okay. So, and to me, your policy is superior to the rules of order by, quite specifically, by the policy itself.
Okay, so if policy is our guiding light, our policy on committees tells us how we're supposed to designate committees, right? Our policy on committees determines how we set committees. Agree? Disagree?
Agree.
1.300.
Sorry, 1.3? Right? Tells us how we're supposed to set committees. So, we set committees. How? What does it say? I'll read it. Sorry.
Because I don't think anybody was prepared but you.
I'm sorry. Well, the way that we conducted ourselves, I felt like we read a bunch of this, but we've not yet navigated it. Smoke break. Committees shall be, board policy, the board shall operate without standing committees except for the executive committee and the policy committee. However, special committees composed of the board members may be appointed by the chairman at the direction of the board and as the needs of the board shall require. Such committees shall be discharged when the work is finished or earlier by a majority vote of the entire board. All reports by a special committee shall be made directly to the board. Special committees serving in an advisory capacity shall consist of less than a quorum of the board members. Committee will be advisory only. Issues to be discussed by the committee must be approved in advance by the board. The committee shall serve no longer in the annual organization meeting of the board unless reappointed to finish the designated task. Committee meetings shall be held in accordance with the Open Meetings Law. Our legal authority of the board in 1.1 tells us that all powers of the board lie in our action as a group. Therefore, individual board members exercise their authority over the school system's affairs only as they vote to take action in an official meeting of the board. The original assembly of the committee that was proposed was through email, not in a board meeting and not by vote. Okay? Board actions, decisions, policies are official only when they're approved by the majority of the membership of the board at a legally constituted meeting of the board and recorded in the official minutes of the board. Everybody made the illusion because we didn't respond to an email directing the board to take action, which was to form a committee via email. Some people participated, some people didn't. The only reason I didn't participate was because it was on the agenda for the next meeting item, okay? It wasn't for any other reason than that. So we're trying to set committees based on our legal status and authority, based on how we tell ourselves our committees are. So if we're gonna take and suspend Robert's Rule of Order to abolish a legally sanctioned committee that we established through vote in a meeting, to go back to a meeting that was to go back to a committee that was established not in a formal meeting without legal status or authority, I'm confused on if we're actually gonna be, if we're following policy. I'm not trying to get excited because I'm frustrated, I'm just trying to breathe oxygen here. So I'm just saying that to say, I don't care if we call it committees, I don't care what we call it, I wanna work with y'all as any way we can work together. I just wanna make sure that we're going to do it in a manner that doesn't create all of the drama that we're constantly surrounded by.
One thing.
That's almost funny.
I mean, like, if there's a way, like, following what it says we're to do without volunteering to suspend the things that people have worked so hard on, creating policy, procedure, this committee, this language, this word. We're gonna have a policy committee that meets every month to change the word from shall to may. We're gonna go through all that, but we cannot figure out the basic function of how we're operating, right? Our committees need to operate and be assembled correctly and meet on at the right time and give everybody an opportunity to participate. And my ask is that, you know, the committees that we asked to be on, and when we volunteer, we're like, okay, we're gonna go to committees. I just asked to be on the policy committee, and I was taken off the policy committee as a result of not being at a meeting. And
No,
whether I
that
would
is
have voted or not, I
wait,
would
just a
have been
minute.
taken off anyway.
That is incorrect. That is, you were not taken off the committee because you were not here.
But as a result,
No, it was not.
I didn't even have the opportunity to vote because I wasn't here.
That is not the purpose of what you're saying.
No, what I'm saying is I couldn't vote because I wasn't here, and the
Well, your vote would have been 5-4, or it would have been 6-3. Either way, the motion would have passed.
we'd already voted on it, and we had a special meeting to circumvent what we put in place.
Because we
did, we suspended our rules.
We fully demonstrated that this particular board cannot operate with an even number. I mean, that was so obvious.
Can we agree on something here?
Hang on, let me explain.
Okay, go ahead.
You've had your opportunity, I won't mind.
Go ahead.
This board or this committee, with a 4-member committee, 4 members.
Yep.
We have operated with 4 members before, but it was demonstrated we could not have, or the committee could not have a meeting. We went for, what, an hour with you explaining to us why we couldn't meet, why we couldn't have a board, why we couldn't do this. So it was obvious that that particular committee was not going to be able to operate business, to carry on business under those with a even number of board members. So you go back to an odd member so that you can make motions. If they all agree, that's awesome. That's amazing, and I hope that they will. But this board cannot operate under with an even number of board members. And that's kind of unusual in the first place.
Yeah,
Can I say one thing?
Hang on. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the email and that the email was picking the committees. That's not what happened. The email was a request that was given individually to each board member requesting what committees they'd like to serve on. One moment, just wait. Everyone had an opportunity to go ahead and respond. If you didn't, you didn't. If you did, you did. Yeah. But it was a request to know what was your preference. And in the policy, I can't remember which policy it is, but it states that the chairman of the board is the one that assigns who was on those committees. She was going ahead as a courtesy to ask each board member what committee they wanted to be on.
I can agree with you.
So that there was no.
There's a couple irregularities and reasons that that's not accurate, not correct in the way of operating.
No. What I'm saying is that the email, wait.
Policies are approved only when the board.
Let her finish.
Let her finish, please.
The email is being misconstrued, is my point. Just please. The email is being misconstrued. It was a courtesy that was sent out individually to each board member asking their preference. That is it. If you want to go ahead and talk about other policies, that's different. But the way that you are representing or misrepresenting the email is a problem.
I think
because
the issue with the email wasn't necessarily.
I'm going to.
I think it had to do more with the.
Ms. South, please. I'm going to interrupt right here. We have discussed, we have argued, we have demonstrated to the general public just why that we cannot work with an even number on a board. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with business. If you'd like to set this on another agenda, on a work session, which I know you hate, special call meeting, which I know you hate, I'll be glad to.
Well,
but it is late, our guest.
Well, the issue is the challenge. The outcome of that, it has to happen today. It can't happen on next meeting. It tells us in plain language that it has to happen today.
I missed meetings, and I'm sure everyone else has missed meetings, but we've never called for a meeting to be conducted again because a member of the board was not present for that meeting.
And just because you haven't done it doesn't mean that it doesn't have plain language, that it tells why that's not acceptable. I understand that. The general courtesy of the email makes sense. Everybody leaving here on time makes sense. Reading our rules also makes sense.
Well, ma'am, I suggested this to you last time. I suggested that what you do is you bring that policy to the policy committee, and with legal assistance from our attorney, talk about how we can phrase that to make it clearer so that what you're talking about does not happen again. That was my suggestion, a little more elaborate with that, but I can see your perspective, and I told you that before. And what we need to do then is work on one policy at a time. That's my suggestion. And if you do that, you're going to find a number of board members working with you to make that change. And a lot of the disagreement that you feel is taking place is because the timing, there's an appropriate place for those changes to take place and be clarified. That would be in the policy committee meeting and then presented to the whole board with the approval of the policy committee.
Right, and that's your opinion, but it's contrary to what it tells us. how we're
Mr.
supposed to
Patton?
conduct this.
Yes, ma'am.
Legally, did we do anything wrong in the November 30th meeting?
I don't believe so, and Ms. Stoll referenced a policy, and it's not only a policy, but it's a state law. Your policy is 1.201, and it is the duties of officers, and under the duties of the chairman, what that policy says is that part of the chairman's duties is to appoint committees authorized by the board, and that's specifically taken from state law. So I think, looking back at the advice that I gave, that suspending the rules of order might be necessary. I think part of the problem was that this board did undertake, you voted to establish committees. You also voted on the members of the committee. And so, you had the authority to go back and change that. You had the authority to suspend the rules of order. I think that, in all honesty, chairman really didn't have to do any of that. If the board had voted to establish the committees, she was at her will by law to appoint whatever members of the committees she thought were prudent.
I think what I'm hearing a little bit from Nick is the order that this happened in. So the email came out asking for our interest regarding committees before the board met regarding committees and what committees we felt we needed going into the next year. So it was soliciting members for their interest in committees.
No.
Or
It was not soliciting.
It was a
It was a
courtesy.
Okay, a
courtesy.
courtesy.
Request.
So a courtesy or a request, but for committees that we had, as a board, had not met to say, these are the committees we need to move forward with. We hadn't, that was on the upcoming agenda.
Was it a board action?
So-
Is the email a board action?
No.
No,
The board participated in the email?
no, the board did not participate in the email.
They are
The
not board
board
actions.
individually.
It was an email to the
And
board members.
you reply, not reply
Individually.
all, so you reply individually, it is not an action.
It's not an action.
It's not an action anyway.
Is it a decision?
It's asking
No.
for,
No decision to make.
No.
no.
So if the same piece of information that was in that email found it was the same piece of information that we all voted on, what is that? Those aren't the same?
You don't know that.
What are you talking about?
You don't know whose information, whose committee, what committee
Mr.
everyone
Davis,
asked to
So
be
I
on.
guess more pointedly, Chapter 8, Section 25, Robert's Rule of Order. Rules protecting absentees cannot be suspended even by unanimous consent or an actual unanimous vote.
Policy says, our policy says that we're able to.
Even if you, Robert's Rule of Order says that even if you suspend Robert's Rule of Order, that right to the board member does not go away.
Okay, so what it,
I'm challenging the outcome of the vote.
challenging what?
The outcome of the vote.
Okay, so you're wanting us to go back and revote.
I'm making a motion that we revert to the vote that was to the committees that were assembled correctly.
Reverse to the vote from the prior meeting?
Can we just go ahead and revote?
Sure, absolutely.
Well, I'm making a motion to revert to the ones that we voted correctly for.
To the previous?
That the board voted for previously.
So
Is
you're
that what
saying we didn't, our attorney just got through saying everything we did was legal. What you're saying is it was not.
I'm saying that it doesn't follow what Robert Rule of Order, Chapter 8, Section 25 is
Okay,
aligned.
so your motion is what?
That we revert, we change the outcome of that vote and go back to the committee that we voted on correctly.
Where is,
You cannot, pardon me, and you go ahead and ask your question.
just one question. That's Robert Rules of Order. What policy is it in our policy?
Which one?
The policy, hold on, I pulled it up. The one that Earl was referring to, Rules of Order, 1.405. So it's one of those, if there's a Robert's Rules of Order to say we can't do that, but then our policy says we can do that, but then we're suspending, so.
Robert's Rules is rules of order. It's procedural in nature. Your policy, which is substantive, says that you can suspend Robert's Rules of Order. And that's what this board did.
Except for in the case,
I feel
I
like I'm
guess
being asked the
it's
same
saying.
question again
Yeah.
and again. I don't think this board did anything illegal.
Well, Earl, let me ask a question.
If there's somebody absent, you can't suspend.
Can you,
Go ahead.
can you bring, if you are not on, see, can you even bring it back up again?
Well, is there any doubt? I know that you all are ready to go home, but I enjoy this debate. I mean, debate is good. I'm a little tired right now.
I agree. But and I promise, this is not coming from a place of menace or whatever somebody might think it is. It's not. This is coming from a place of trying to get us to go in the direction that will help us not stay outside of our own framework. If we're gonna have rules, let's follow them. Let's not suspend them. If we're gonna make votes, let's make them stick. If we're not gonna make votes, let's just.
Well, the thing about it is, if you're not on, Earl, help me out with the word, the prevailing, thank you. I kept wanting to say providing. If you're not on the prevailing end of a vote, you cannot bring it back up.
You're talking about the policy that says you can test any action in the previous meeting.
Yes.
It says right in the same Rules of Order that we're looking at.
Procedural challenges to the rule of order must be made in a timely manner, no later than the next successive meeting.
So what rule is that?
1405.
So that's the one that you quoted. Well, there again, I don't think, because I don't think anyone expected this challenge, that anyone is prepared to debate and to, so I would agree.
So you would like to have the opportunity to prepare it, right? I would have liked to have the opportunity to prepare it.
Well, listen to me.
A special call meeting that I didn't get an invite to, I had to get a good thing I checked my email, or I wouldn't even known I had it. And I couldn't come.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
And not only could I not come, I couldn't vote. So my right to vote was not allowed. And I got pulled off of a committee in the process.
Okay, let me, I'm going to, you've got a motion, there's no second on it yet. If you want time, because it is so late, to discuss this, and I know it's in the policy, it has to be brought up, to challenge a vote. then I will be more than happy to set because it's not on the agenda to vote. It's not on the agenda to debate. You're bringing this up in old business. We've had a long meeting. I think everyone's tired. I think everyone needs to go back and be able to look at this 1.405. I think everyone needs an opportunity to either defend. We went according to our legal counsel, and I think that he would be able to instruct us. Now, did he look, or was he asked to look at 1.405? I don't know. I wasn't challenging anything. But we're wanting, no, I'm not gonna say we're, because that's speaking for other board members, and I'm not gonna do that. I am trying to move forward, conduct business. The one thing that we got out of that meeting was Ms. Hamby was able to carry on and have a policy committee meeting and approve policies that needed to be. So we were making an attempt to conduct business. If you want to challenge it, I'll give you another opportunity and you can challenge it all day long. But it is 5 till 9. Everyone is tired. We've had what I thought started out as a very good, productive meeting.
It still is.
And this is still productive.
And a productive meeting. But
I think there's certain things that are coming up that are creating barriers.
That policy, and to your point, Nick, procedural challenges to the rules of order must be made in a timely manner and not later than the next successive meeting. It does not say that procedural challenges must be decided in the next meeting.
Yeah, and it doesn't say we can't decide either.
You're absolutely right.
I agree.
That's, you know, if.
I'm just trying to.
I'm here for this board if it wants to stay here till midnight.
Sure, no, and I'm not opposed to,
I've been in some meetings that have gone on about that long.
yeah,
It's been a
I
while.
have no interest in,
pull your boots up, let's go.
making it beyond what it is.
So challenge has been made and recognized. There's a concern.
It's not a challenge.
Well, that's
He has
what
to
he's
make a
made.
motion.
Well, no, he's made the challenge to the way that the Robert's Rules of Orders were
The procedure.
suspended at the prior meeting where he was absent, yeah. So that's the challenge, so
It's
it's
a
handled.
procedural challenge.
Right.
And our legal attorney
Yeah.
has said it was fine.
Yeah, what do you do in our, legal counsel said what you did was fine. So, Mr. Patty, what do you do with a procedural challenge? I don't think I've ever experienced one.
Well, I think you treat this as a motion to reconsider, essentially.
Can a motion to reconsider be made by a non-prevailing party?
Under a challenge. Doesn't say anything
I
about.
think Robert's Rules of Order probably says that that a motion to reconsider must be made by a member of the prevailing party. But again, I mean, this policy doesn't really set forth, you know, what the requirements are. I guess, you know.
It wasn't necessarily.
I think in order for the board to, you know, to move on from this, I mean, there would be nothing wrong with the board taking a vote on the motion that Mr. Davis made.
What was your motion? That would go back to the original approved,
Correct.
that had 4 members on each? Okay.
May I add one thing to that?
Tell me what your motion is.
Motion is that we reverse the vote in the special call meeting during suspension of the Robert's Rules of Order, as the rights of an absentee voter were not protected. And the motion is to revert to the correct previously voted committees. And I'm gonna add to that, the reason for the realignment was to remove the 4th party, right? Our policy tells us special committee serving in advisory capacity is only required to consist of less than a quorum of board members. 4 is less than a quorum. which makes it acceptable, and we've done it in the past. It also says in here that there's no vote to be made, okay? So the relevance of 4 or 3 or 2 doesn't have any bearing on the outcome of the committee's ability to conduct business. The committee's responsibility is to serve only as an advisory status. So their job is to bring that information back to the board for full vote. Having 4, 3, or 2, or 1 does not have any bearing.
But that can't be the long motion. You have a motion that you're going to make.
Yes.
So let's focus on that motion.
That was motion with explanation.
Yeah, I just wanted people to understand where I was coming from.
Davis can handle it.
And explaining as to why.
So let's get to the motion. The motion is that we reverse the vote during the November 30th meeting because an absent, and I lost you there.
Oh, yeah.
Because an absentee member what?
Was not present.
Yep. Because the rights of
The rights.
Yep, of an absentee voter were not protected.
Okay.
Per chapter 8, section 25.
And you're gonna add that back to, or add to that we go back to the original proposed committees.
I would like to see us just go back, because we're all gonna be, whether we vote to have 4 people or 3 people in that, we can all participate in that meeting and have similar input. So it's almost a moot point if we wanna get right down to it.
But the policy committee and the executive committee are standing committees per our policy, and we do vote in the policy committee.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? I think we discussed the fire out of it. So let's just move to the motion. The motion is that we reverse the vote during the November 30th meeting due to the rights of an absentee member was violated, and go back to the committees that were approved by the board in the October meeting. Am I correct? Did you get that, Ted? Okay. Any more discussion? Okay. So, Ms. Stoll. Ms. Stoll, I'm gonna ask, we're gonna do a roll call vote, just so we have it.
Her wheels are turning.
That's right. Right
Ms.
now.
Nichols?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Hale?
No.
Mr. Safdie?
No.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Hamby, or Ms. Hamby, sorry.
No.
Okay. Ms. Stout?
Yes.
Ms. Stoll?
No.
And board chair votes no. Motion fails. I will entertain a motion to.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And we have a motion and a.
No, questions from the media.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please.
All right. Madam Chairman, who does the agenda for the Board of Education?
The executive committee.
Executive Committee. Now, may I ask the Executive Committee to be just a little bit more expanding on these agendas, not the regular BOE meeting, but like special call, for example, this last one just had committee.
Right.
That's a broad subject. I need more clarification, that way I can let the public know what the meeting is about, and I just respectfully ask that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Heather? Let's stop. This, all in favor of adjourning? Aye. All opposed?
Boy.